Chapter 902. Strong Cultivator's Death. A short while after, Lin Feng arrived outside of the palace. There was a group of people proudly standing in the sky. Their qi was so cold that ordinary people would freeze if they approached them. Because of Lin Feng, people from Shengong, and more precisely, people from East Shengong and North Shengong, had disappeared in the mysterious world. Shi Jutian, West Shengong's leader, and his group of people had come to Yangzhou City, but have also disappeared. Out of 4 districts, only one remained: South Shengong. Lin Feng. Lin Feng had already seen the leader of that group. It was the Zun cultivator who had once taught Lin Feng a few things. After the great competition of Shuiyu, they traveled back to Shengong and met with the Zun cultivator. Lin Feng, long time no see. You've already killed the leaders of 3 districts from Shengong. What should I do with you? Said the Zun cultivator in cold way. Lin Feng looked at his interlocutor in a neither haughty, nor humble, and neither servile nor overbearing way. Mister, you should understand my position. I had no choice. If I hadn't killed those people, they would have killed me. Did I have a choice? And me? Do I have a choice? You've killed so many of my people. I obviously can't forgive you. So what? Do you want to kill me too? Said the Zun cultivator, staring at Lin Feng. His voice contained an incredible energy. He didn't sound furious, but he did sound majestic. Mister, you know that I had no choice. However, even though we met only once, you taught me some things. I would never want to kill you. Therefore, I hope that you can just leave of your own free will, said Lin Feng as if he had been talking about something normal. However, people from Shengong were flabbergasted. So, according to Lin Feng, the thing is, he didn't wish to kill the Zun cultivator? He wanted the Zun cultivator to leave on his own free will? How arrogant! How audacious! The Zun cultivator was just astonished. He looked at Lin Feng in a strange way. How can you be so confident? The Zun cultivator was intrigued. Lin Feng, surprisingly, stated that he didn't want to kill him. I like to be magnanimous. I never wanted to be enemies with Shengong. However, Shengong keeps chasing me. As far as you and I are concerned, we are not enemies at all. Therefore, I don't want to fight you, and I wish even less for your death. So the best thing for the both of us is for you to leave. Lin Feng sounded friendly, neither proud nor arrogant. He was just calm. It seems like you really obtained incredible treasures in the mysterious world. Shi Jutian and the others came and you killed them all. Now you sound like you're defying the laws of the universe. What kind of deadly weapons have you obtained to act so confidently? I really wish I could see them, said the Zun cultivator. The other people from Shengong were surprised and looked back at Lin Feng. The Zun cultivator was right. Shi Jutian and the others had come and had been killed by Lin Feng. On top of that, Lin Feng really sounded self-confident. He wasn't pretending. Therefore, he really might have obtained a deadly weapon. Everybody was suddenly even more interested in Lin Feng. Mister, I have already said everything I wish to say on the topic. If you keep insisting and really want to kill me, then I will not be able to remain magnanimous. I will have to kill you, said Lin Feng calmly. The Zun cultivator sighed. It's too bad before. Bei Ming had eyes but couldn't see. He made a terrible mistake. I don't want to be your enemy, but because of Shengong I have to kill you. Never mind, I really want to see the Jade Emperor's precious treasures too. As you wish, said Lin Feng. If they had a clear conscience and really wanted to kill him, he had done his best to solve the situation peacefully. The Zun cultivator didn't attack immediately. He looked around before saying in a detached way, since everyone is already looking at us, no need to hide the head and show the tail. From the horizon, many people appeared and flew over. Their qi was incredible. However, they were not from Shengong. Jade Heaven, the East Sea Dragon Palace, it seems like you've been spying on us for quite a long time, said the Zun cultivator. Surprisingly, both Jade Heaven and the East Sea Dragon Palace had sent a Zun cultivator. That proved that they considered Lin Feng a threat. The Zun cultivator from Shengong knew that those influential groups had been spying on them since the beginning. They just wanted to use Shengong. However, they were unable to conceal themselves. They were afraid that the Zun cultivator from Shengong would kill Lin Feng and leave with the treasures if they were too far away. Hehe. Of course, we also want to see Lin Feng's precious treasures with our own eyes, said the leader of the group from the East Sea Dragon Palace. He didn't sound upset, just majestic. He was looking at Lin Feng in a strange way. At the same, he confirmed what the Zun cultivator from Shengong had guessed. Lin Feng definitely had a deadly weapon. Same here, said Jade Heaven's leader. He also thought that Lin Feng had obtained a precious treasure from the Jade Emperor's palace. He really wanted to know what his ancestors had left behind, and what happened in the mysterious world. Huang Feng had a map of the Jade Emperor's palace. How could he lose to Lin Feng? All this was a mystery that only Lin Feng could explain. Shengong, the East Sea Dragon Palace, Jade Heaven. Lin Feng glanced at them all. Someday when I reach the clouds, I will pay you all a visit in order to express my gratitude for your kind attitudes. You are facing 3 Zun cultivators and surprisingly, you're still thinking that you will reach the clouds someday. I wonder if your self-confidence is really founded or if you are just ignorant. Even if you have an amazing weapon, I doubt it could help you defeat 3 Zun cultivators, said the Zun cultivator from the East Sea Dragon Palace. One strike and you could die. Lin Feng glanced at him and fearlessly said, many people from the East Sea Dragon Palace have told me such things before. However, they're all buried now. Maybe that it's your turn now. Lin Feng abruptly turned around and ran back into the palace. Where are you going? Do you think you can escape? Said the Zun cultivator. An incredible amount of strength from the earth and sky appeared in his hand. Die. At the same time, the Zun cultivators from Shengong and from Jade Heaven followed him. They wanted to see what kind of treasure Lin Feng would use to fight against 3 Zun cultivators. How could Lin Feng fight against 3 Zun cultivators? However, at that moment it seemed like some mysterious marks started to glow. In the blink of an eye, they became dazzling and everything in the palace was wrapped up in those dazzling lights. It seemed like they had been cut off from the outside world. Ruahar. Boom. The wind whizzed, flames roared, ice and frost were freezing the atmosphere. Sword chi was lacerating the firmament. In the palace, a terrifying fire strength suddenly started flowing through the mysterious marks. An apocalyptic strength. What's going on? The facial expression of the 3 Zun cultivators suddenly changed and they looked nervous. They could sense that their chi was constricted by the abstruse energy. Fire and sword abstruse energies were attacking them, and it seemed like it was the end of the world. Kacha kacha. People's hearts were pounding. Tian-level cultivators were terrified, especially those who were near the Zun cultivators. Their bodies had already started to disintegrate. What kind of strength is that? Many people were shouting desperately. What kind of sorcery was that? We're doomed. They were doomed and they knew it. Chapter 903. Panic Attack B. Busy. Inside the palace, people from Shuiyu were shaking as well. What kind of powers did the palace of their country have? Seemed like the world was going to collapse. Mysterious marks, how's that possible? The attackers were astonished. Shuiyu was an insignificant country. How could it have deadly mysterious marks? Lin Feng. Lin Feng. The attackers were furious, but Lin Feng looked calm and detached. He was just observing the scene. Zun cultivators or not, you're going to die. In a flash, an infinity of deadly energies came out of the marks and horrible shrieks sounded. No one could see anything anymore because the atmosphere was completely distorted. There were many abstruse crystals buried in those marks, making the strength of the marks incredibly powerful. If Zun cultivators decided to use their own abstruse strength, the marks would absorb it immediately, and would only strengthen the marks. In a flash, the 3 cultivators died as their souls were torn apart. Before dying, one could see absolute fear on their face. Such talented cultivators. Everybody admired them. However, in a flash they had wasted everything. They died trying to kill a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer. All their dreams had vanished in the blink of an eye. Apart from the 3 Zun cultivators who died, a myriad of Tian-level cultivators who were with them also died. They weren't able to resist more than a few seconds. Their bodies were immediately torn apart. The marks had twinkled for a few more seconds as a myriad more of cultivators died. Those who stood farther away and hadn't died, but were seriously injured. How had all those people died? Shameless cheater, said someone coldly. Who would have thought that there would be hidden traps in the palace of Shuiyu? Deadly to the extent that even Zun cultivators couldn't resist. People from 3 powerful empires came to my palace, a trivial country such as Shuiyu. 3 Zun cultivators and many Tian-level cultivators. They all wanted to kill me, a cultivator of the first Tian-Chi layer. And you dare say I am shameless? Said Lin Feng. If he hadn't thought of a solution, he would be the one dead now. Those Tian-level cultivators looked at the marks as they progressively disappeared. Maybe they could be used only once? Die! Shouted someone, furiously throwing themselves at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered as he used his agility technique and appeared somewhere else. He was standing next to Yu Meng He, Lin Hai and the others. Kill him. The strength disappeared. Shouted the enemies furiously. Boom! Boom boom boom. A terrifying strength appeared. However, it was immediately absorbed by the ground and they started shaking violently. Slash, slash. Deadly energy spread through the air towards their direction. The attackers died one after the other and their bodies fell down from the air. It wasn't the same kind of strength as the one which had killed the Zun cultivators. Anyone who used pure chi were killed by those lights. In a flash, all those attackers died and their corpses fell to the ground. The remaining attackers were speechless and started shaking with fear even more. So many people were dying so quickly. People from Shui could easily hide in that palace and they were safe. The attackers realized that using pure chi in the palace was impossible. Anyone who tried would die. Lin Feng smiled. He slowly walked forwards and looked at the remaining attackers. There were 5 people left. In the blink of an eye, so many strong cultivators had died. Yindi's marks were terrifying, making Lin Feng think that in the future, he should be nicer to him. Even though he hates me, I don't think he wants to kill me, thought Lin Feng. Otherwise, he could have easily plotted against him. Dear sirs, do you still want to kill me? Said Lin Feng while smiling devilishly. He hadn't released an iota of chi. Those 5 didn't know whether to attack or not. Hearing Lin Feng's mockery made them furious. They were glaring back at him. It seems like you don't feel like arguing with me anymore, said Lin Feng mockingly and smiling indifferently. Those 5 people were furious but couldn't do anything. The Zun cultivators had died. Tian-level cultivators who were stronger than them died as well. Shouldn't they run away? Being in the palace of Shui was way too dangerous. It seemed like nobody could kill Lin Feng once inside or even near it. How had Lin Feng obtained such powers? You have no choice here, die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He used his Xiaoyao agility technique and punched a cultivator of the Tian-Chi layer. The others were astonished. Lin Feng actually possessed such strength? Boom! One punch was enough to kill these cultivators. Lin Feng's enemy didn't even have the chance to counterattack. The 4 others released their own pure chi when they saw that. They were determined to remain extremely vigilant. Lin Feng smiled at them as if it was nothing. For more to go, said Lin Feng while smiling like this was a sport. The 4 others looked terrified. What could they do? They thought that Lin Feng was just a piece of trash. Now they thought that he was demoniac. Lin Feng, wait till I go back to the sect and inform them. They will definitely kill you and everyone in this palace, threatened one of the 4 while slowly inching back. Destroy my palace? People from the East Sea Dragon Palace can all come here if they want. I will kill them all, and you are no exception, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He released bestial chi and that person abruptly turned around as several gigantic shadows came towards him. He stopped and released as much chi as he could. Slash, a deadly light pierced through the atmosphere and cut through his body. 3 more, said Lin Feng, still smiling. The 3 remaining cultivators' hearts were pounding. They were terrified. Kill him, shouted Lin Feng furiously. The snow eagles flew towards one enemy. He released a lot of chi, but just as he was readying to mobilize that energy, sword intent pierced through his body and killed him. 2 people, said Lin Feng smiling in a resplendent way. He was driving them crazy. Chapter 904. Killing in Shengong in the Shuiyu region. Michang City was surrounded by a mysterious cloud. A seemingly ordinary old man went inside. Besides his normal appearance, his speed was astonishing. Someone thought that they had just seen a shadow, as if there had been someone, but there definitely wasn't anyone there. The old man crossed the clouds with incredible speed before stopping. He didn't say anything, he just calmly looked around. A long time passed and the clouds in front of the old man dispersed and a gate appeared as well as a person. That person was surprised to see the old man and said in a cold way, "Who are you?" Do you know where you are? The old man said nothing. He just crossed the gate. The person at the gate wanted to stop him, but he couldn't move his body. When the old man disappeared from his field of vision, his body continued to freeze and he eventually froze to death. Some more people saw the old man. "Stop right now," shouted two of them. Many people came to that direction when they heard the shout. Surprisingly, an uninvited old man had entered Shengong. However, it suddenly started snowing and a blade-sharp wind began blowing. The atmosphere was chilling to the bone. The old man kept running without saying anything. However, it seemed like the piercingly cold qi came from his body. Kacha kacha. Everybody who tried to stop immediately froze and became as motionless as an ice statue. Nobody could escape this fate. "Hurry up, call the Zun cultivators," said someone hastily. There was a myriad of frozen people already. Nobody dared to try and stop the old man anymore. They knew they couldn't. Anyone who approached him turned into a statue. Shengong was turning into a landscape of desolation. People didn't have time to get near the old man before they were already frozen. Many strong cultivators came towards that direction, but when they saw the landscape full of frozen people, their facial expression changed drastically. Shengong's people started to think that they had never seen such a tragedy. It would probably be the first and last time they would. Finally, Shengong's Zun cultivators were notified. Even though who were in a state of meditation practicing cultivation, someone had come to destroy Shengong. The old man seemed like he was having a walk in a garden. He seemed quite relaxed. However, each of his steps terrified people. Was he going to freeze Shengong's entire territory? "Who are you, dear friend? You should have warned us that you were coming so we could welcome you properly," said someone very far away. Finally, a Zun cultivator was coming out. A terrifying qi spread in the form of a whirlwind. It seemed like that qi was attempting to thaw out the ice. An unknown person not worth mentioning. "Shengong is not a restricted area, so if I want to come, I can as I wish. Why would I need to inform anyone?" said the old man calmly. Chapter 905. Two news items roar. In the distance, a terrifying wind appeared. It was filled with incredible energies that shook the earth and sky. Another Zun cultivator was coming and he was furious. Someone dared killed their people in their own territory, including a Zun cultivator. The old man raised his hand and glanced at him calmly. The old man seemed like he was in another world, a world made of ice. "The world of cultivation is ruthless. Tianxian makes the sky shake." The old man remained motionless. Terrifying energies dashed to the skies. At that moment it seemed like he could control the earth and sky. It seemed like he just had to breathe to move the strength of the earth and sky. "Suffocate!" shouted the old man furiously while punching in front of him. It seemed like the earth and the sky were turning upside down with this punch. Boom boom boom, the atmosphere fell apart. The Zun cultivator hadn't arrived yet, but he was already shaking violently. His heartbeat suddenly accelerated. He felt oppressed, like he couldn't attack anymore. At the same time, a terrifying and powerful strength crashed onto his body. Suddenly, his face turned deathly pale. His body looked distorted and he had no more strength. "Die!" The old man jumped and appeared in front of him. He raised his fist, which were filled with an incredible strength. Boom boom boom. The crowd was suddenly crushed down onto the ground and blood splashed out of their mouths. They looked like they were in terrible pain. The Zun cultivator was propelled backwards. His body was torn apart, his soul had broken apart and he died. The old man looked at the crowd. He didn't look like an ordinary old man anymore. He looked like a strong and invincible cultivator. "I came to Shengong to tell you all that you can't harass my disciples as you wish. I am from Tianqi. Next time I won't come alone." After that, the old man immediately disappeared. Tianqi. The crowd was dumbfounded. The old man was from Tianqi and he had just killed a myriad of people in Shengong, including two Zun cultivators. In the distance, two more Zun cultivators appeared. When they arrived and saw the desolate landscape, a gloomy expression appeared on their face. "Let's follow him," said one of them. The other one nodded. "Wait," said someone coldly at that moment. The two others immediately stopped, turned around and looked at that person in a respectful way. "If you follow him, you're going to die," that person explained. The others looked vexed. Was the old man from Tianqi that strong? Would the two Zun cultivators die if they followed him? For them, the Zun cultivators of Shengong were incredible, almost like gods. They forgot that even in the world of Zun cultivators, there were cultivators of different levels. A single level could equate to huge level differences between Zun cultivators. Shengong has never been so humiliated, said one of the Zun cultivators, not happy about the other's decision. A man had killed a myriad of people, a huge number of Tian level and Xian level cultivators, two Zun cultivators. Shengong's reputation was ruined. If we want to get our revenge, we need to become stronger, said the one who had just arrived. He said this in a calm way while gazing into the distance. A few hundred years ago, two peerless cultivators rose up in Tianqi. One became the leader of Tianji, and the other one became the leader of Tianxian. Nobody was as strong as them in the Ganyu region. Later on, they both left Tianqi. They wanted to go on a cultivation trip to become even stronger. They gave Tianxian and Tianji to their disciples. Nowadays, there's no need to mention how strong the leader of Tianji is. Besides, Tianxian's leader is introverted and many people think that he's a terrible cultivator. Nobody knows that when he had just become a Zun cultivator, he killed 3 Zun cultivators who had teamed up against him. Tianxian's leader is precisely the man who just came here. The 2 Zun cultivators were speechless. The old man who had just attacked Shengong and killed 2 Zun cultivators, was that scary? The one who was talking glanced at the 2 Zun cultivators and said, "You want to ask me how I know that, right? Amongst the 3 Zun cultivators who got killed by him, one of them was my fellow disciple." The 2 Zun cultivators' hearts were pounding. The story they had just heard happened such a long time ago. Well, how strong was the old man now, though? "So then, can we forget about that and let him off?" said one of the Zun cultivators, obviously still not satisfied. "Of course we won't. Shengong is now riddled with gaping wounds, so we can't afford to be careless anymore. I will inform our leader. From now on, Shengong isn't divided into 4 districts. There will only be one Shengong and only one leader," said that person. He rolled up his sleeves and suddenly disappeared. He was also furious. In the imperial palace of Shuiyu in Yangzhou City, the 2 remaining cultivators wanted to escape. However, one of them ran into the illusion and died. Lin Feng didn't kill the other one though. He let him leave. Lin Feng wanted that cultivator to go and inform his group about what happened. He wanted everyone to understand that if they came to Shuiyu with evil intentions, they would die. Lin Feng couldn't stay in Yangzhou City the whole time. Therefore, he needed people to talk about what happened and how dangerous it was to challenge him inside of Yangzhou City. Then, he would be able to leave with peace of mind. After a short time, the news spread. Zun cultivators who went to Shuiyu with evil intentions would die there without question. Zun cultivators were amongst the best cultivators in the world. They had to understand that if they wanted to kill Lin Feng, they would have to find him outside of Shuiyu. The news spread everywhere. Not only in Shuiyu and its surroundings. People in Ganyu were also astonished by the news. Shengong, Jade Heaven, the East Sea Dragon Palace. They all wanted to send Zun cultivators to Shuiyu to kill Lin Feng, but Lin Feng wasn't afraid. 3 Zun cultivators and a countless numbers of extremely strong cultivators died in Shuiyu, and only one person was left alive to tell the tale. However, some other news spread that was just as astonishing, if not more. Even though people had tried to hide the truth, nothing can remain a secret in the long run. When Shengong sent people to Shuiyu to kill Lin Feng, a strong cultivator from Tianqi went to Shengong and killed a countless numbers of Tian level and Xian level cultivators as well as 2 Zun cultivators. Then he left as gloriously as he came. According to rumors, the leader of Tianqi, Mr. Tianji, had gone there for Lin Feng. He didn't like how everyone was attacking Lin Feng. According to other rumors, it was rather the leader of Tianxian who had gone there. Lin Feng was a member of Tianxian, so Tianxian wanted to protect their disciples. All in all, a bloodbath occurred in Shengong. No matter which rumor was true or not, they all had something to do with Lin Feng. It was incredible. As before, some people wondered why the only people who had come out of the mysterious world alive were people from Tianqi. Nobody knew what had happened there. After that gossip spread, it seemed like Ganyu became calm again. Nobody would fight anymore. Nobody could go to Shuiyu because Zun cultivators could die there. It also seemed like Tianqi was rising up again. However, it was only the calm before the storm. Chapter 906. Danger in Tianqi. It was snowing in Tianqi and the snowflakes were beautiful. Extremely beautiful even. There were 3 silhouettes in the sky above a valley. One of them was wearing a dragon robe and looked both proud and arrogant, as if he was the world leader. Next to him was a cultivator wearing a jade heaven robe. That person looked like an emperor, conceited and presumptuous, as if he were the world's emperor. The last person looked calm and was wearing a black robe with mysterious drawings on it. He looked scary. The leader from the East Sea Dragon Palace, King Dragon, Jade Heaven's leader, Prince Duanmu, Shengong's leader Miaqing. Why did you come to Tianqi? Someone said from the distance. 7 people arrived very quickly. Those 7 were the leaders of Tianqi's 7 snowy peaks. King Dragon was the East Sea Dragon Palace's leader. Jade Heaven's leaders were always called Prince, since they considered themselves as the Emperor's children. And finally, Shengong's leader was Miaqing. Those people were the leaders of the most influential groups in the Ganyu region, and at that moment, they had all gathered together. So of course, the leaders of the 7 snowy peaks had to show some face. Your disciple came to the East Sea Dragon Palace a while back and killed my people. He even killed my disciples. You must hand Lin Feng over now, said King Dragon indifferently. However, Lin Feng having killed Duanwu, Ye wasn't the only problem which existed between the East Sea Dragon Palace and Lin Feng. Almost everybody disappeared in the mysterious world. Tianqi's people are the only ones who came back. I want explanations, said Duanmu coldly. Tianxian leader, you came to Shengong because of Lin Feng, and killed many of my strong cultivators. You even killed 2 Zun cultivators. Can you explain to me why? Said Miaqing. They all had similar reasons for coming to Tianqi. Lin Feng. Dragon King, the problem between Lin Feng and you is because you sent people to kill those closest to Lin Feng. He killed some of your people because he wanted to get his revenge. What's wrong with that? Now you come here and tell me you want me to hand him over? I'm sorry, said Mr. Tianji. Then, he looked at Duanmu. Duanmu, what you said is even more groundless. Many influential groups from Ganyu went into the mysterious world to acquire precious treasures. Everybody knew that it was a matter of life and death. Your people died, my people survived. How could I explain why? That's ridiculous. As far as you are concerned, Miaqing, you sent people to kill my disciple. How could I tolerate that? What should I tell you? Mr. Tianji was talking loudly and glancing at those people challengingly. So if you came here to talk nonsense, you can go back. Whether you want Lin Feng or explanations, I can't give you either. People from Tianqi take themselves seriously, said Miaqing laughing. Too bad. Tianqi was rising up again. Now it seems like you want to go back to your good old state, a bunch of no-goods. Miaqing, if you wanted to get your revenge, you could come back with people and try to kill Tianqi's people. Maybe that, after all the fighting, Shengong would lose everything then? Said Mr. Tianji in a sharp way. Miaqing was threatening Tianqi, so Mr. Tianji had to be firm. Very good, said Dragon King smiling. Alright, so Tianqi is the greatest and controls the entire region of Ganyu. At least it seems that way considering how they despise everybody else. Then we're off. But we'll be back. Let's go, said Duanmu indifferently. Just as quickly as they came, they all left. After they left, Mr. Tianji frowned and said, we can't leave Tianqi for a while. We need to practice cultivation and become even stronger. Alright, said everyone nodding. Seemed like Tianqi was in danger. Humph, at that moment someone groaned coldly. Lin Feng annoyed 3 influential groups. He even went to them and killed them. Now because of him we're in danger. Mr. Shui, the Snow Zun cultivator, glanced back at Tianshu Zi. Are you from Tianqi? Tianshu Zi looked angry and pointed at the Snow Zun cultivator. You, that's enough, shouted Mr. Tianji furiously, interrupting Tianshu Zi. How dare you offend Tianqi? Even if nothing happened, you must follow Tianqi's rules. You must protect your fellow disciples. You can't forget that this is our religion. In any case, I don't think that they will come and attack anyways. But even if they tried, Tianqi isn't afraid. And on top of that, they probably wouldn't risk starting a war which could kill everyone. If that were to happen, they would also lose everything, said Mr. Tianji as he left. He had never thought that Shengong, Jade Heaven and the East Sea Dragon Palace could join hands to attack them anyway, especially over some treasures. One day later, some news spread in Ganyu that a cultivator of the 9 Cloud Swords sect was outside, minding their own business, and someone froze them to death. It was said that the culprit was a person from Tianqi. According to another rumor, a disciple from the Xiaoyao sect was also frozen to death, and the culprit was believed to be a cultivator from Tianqi. Tianqi was at the center of all rumors in Ganyu. Another rumor spread that said the East Sea Dragon Palace, Jade Heaven and Shangong had gathered in Ahsoka, an ancient city, to convoke all the sects of Ganyu. They wanted everybody to get together to fight against Tianqi. They wanted Tianqi to explain why their disciples were the only ones who had come out of the mysterious world, and why the others had all disappeared. Tianqi had to give them an explanation. When the 9 Cloud Swords sect and the Xiaoyao sect heard about the meeting, they immediately headed for Ahsoka to join. Chapter 907. Proud young man Lin Feng stopped in a city in Ganyu. He arrived in a bar where there were many sorts of pickled vegetables and alcohol. Lin Feng was alone again. Lin Feng had left good things in Shuiyu. Mr. Hua and the other alchemists had also returned to the Imperial Palace in Shuiyu. Lin Feng used their ingredients to concoct powerful pills, including nature pills, to help them. Xian Yu wanted to stay with Lin Feng, but Lin Feng convinced her that it was impossible. There were too many dangers outside of Shuiyu and too many people wanted to kill him. Besides, Lin Feng had left Shuiyu now, so nobody would go there. They were interested in him, not in Shuiyu. Han Man and the others went on a trip on their own. Lin Feng was sipping on some hot unit which reminded him of Yu Yu and June Mo Shi. He was wondering how strong they had become since he last saw them. With Zun cultivators as teachers, they had probably broken through to the Tianqi layer already. They were very talented, and last time they had already broken through to the 9th Xianqi layer. Chongqi was crouching on a table. He grabbed a glass of alcohol with his claws and drank it. Everybody was surprised. What a funny animal, it enjoyed drinking alcohol. Lin Feng didn't mind. Chongqi used to be an emperor, poor thing. Just the thought softened Lin Feng's heart. Chongqi, at that moment a voice resonated. The person seemed surprised. Chongqi really exists. I would have never thought that I would ever see that ancient animal, especially here in such a small place. Someone else said. Someone had seemingly recognized Chongqi. Chongqi raised its head and coldly glanced at those people in a despising way. This surprised them. Amongst them was a young nobleman wearing white clothes who smiled. Chongqi is funny. The crowd gradually gathered. They wanted to see that extraordinary beast. They all had an imposing appearance, especially their leader. He was tall and handsome. On his side was a very beautiful woman wearing a green skirt. She had beautiful facial traits. She was wearing a beautiful necklace with a crystal on it that looked like an extraordinary jewel. Behind the young man was another young man wearing black clothes. He also looked extremely strong. Those 3 people were together and stood out the most. A Chongqi. Many people were looking at Chongqi now, intrigued by everyone else's interest. They were wondering how a sick-looking man could control a Chongqi. The young man with the white clothes walked towards Lin Feng. The young woman and the young man wearing black clothes followed him. Can you exchange that Chongqi? Asked the young man in white clothes. At that moment he also glanced at the snowy white furry animal on Lin Feng's shoulder. That animal looked extraordinary as well, but the young man in white clothes didn't know why exactly. Xueling Long also used a trick to transform into an ordinary-looking fox, so people couldn't see how strong she was. Her mother had taught her how to do so. Lin Feng raised his head and glanced at those 3 people. They were all young, but they had all broken through to the Tianqi layer. Lin Feng was surprised. In Ganyu there were so many geniuses. In such a small town, he had already encountered 3. I'm sorry. You probably know that Chongqi is a precious animal, so I can't exchange it, said Lin Feng with a gentle smile on his face. That young man and the young woman with him were both very proud. Lin Feng thought that they belonged to a rich and powerful group, otherwise why would they all be in such a small place, especially that young man in white clothes. He had already broken through to the 3rd Tianqi layer. That was quite astonishing. Don't worry, I won't rip you off. If you want anything, just tell me. Intent crystals, whatever, or maybe Tian level skills or techniques, said the young man in white clothes indifferently. The other people in the bar were shocked and looked at him with admiration. intent crystals, Tian level skills and techniques. And it seemed so normal for that young man. As expected, thought Lin Feng, smiling. He was right, he just didn't know which group that young man belonged to, but for him, intent crystals and Tian level skills and techniques were normal things. If you want to have a drink or two, we can, however, I won't exchange my Chong Qi, said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. What if I want it no matter what it takes, said the young man. His voice sounded slightly colder. A cultivator of the first Tian Qi layer was refusing an exchange? What a humiliation. It's all right. An exchange is already beneficial for you. No need to be boring. If you need something to cure your disease or make you look better, I have pills for that, said the young woman in a gentle voice, yet mockingly. Many people immediately got even more interested and wanted to see what would happen. Lin Feng was challenging the young man in white clothes. Lin Feng with his yellow face did look ugly. Lin Feng looked at the girl and smiled indifferently. Well, when I look at your face, my fine liquor seems tasteless. When you drink a fine liquor, you need to pay attention to whom you're looking at. If you look at a beautiful girl, the alcohol tastes sweet and rich. However, when I look at you, my alcohol is difficult to swallow. When the girl heard Lin Feng, she looked surprised. Her facial expression suddenly looked hideous. Lin Feng was making fun of her. I'll give you one chance only. You're going to trade your Chong Qi and take back what you just said the young man in white clothes. He sounded proud and aggressive. Lin Feng shook his head and continued drinking, ignoring the young man. It's rare to talk to people who are as calm and indifferent as you, but usually they are very strong. I wonder how strong you are, said the young man, who didn't sound as furious as before. He was even smiling. The girl walked closer to Lin Feng and sat down at the table. The young man in black clothes was still standing there, motionless. His qi seemed to be very powerful and contained blood energy. It seemed that he had killed someone recently. If you had accepted our young master's proposition a moment ago, maybe you could have had the opportunity to know him. Unfortunately, you refused, so you might die now, said the young man in black clothes, as if getting to know the young man in white clothes was an honor. I don't care about your master, said Lin Feng while shaking his head. Then he continued drinking his glass. He ignored the young man in black clothes who had broken through to the first Tian Qi layer, just like him. You don't know how to differentiate good from bad, said that young man in black clothes furiously. He jumped forwards. In a flash, he released very sharp energies. Lin Feng frowned. That qi seemed extremely powerful, and it contained very powerful intent. That man had probably killed many people. He had plenty of battle experience. Besides his strength, he was also very fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Lin Feng. Lin Feng was curious. That guy was a young master's servant and was already so strong. Interesting. Lin Feng stood up and ran backwards. The young man in black clothes followed him. He was very fast. He was using a special agility technique, it seemed. Lin Feng rose his fist and punched the young man's fist. When their fists collided, the young man in black clothes suddenly lost feeling in his arm. Lin Feng was so strong. The young man in white clothes seemed intrigued. He perfectly knew how strong the young man in black clothes was. He could easily defeat ordinary cultivators of the first Tian Qi layer, so he was very strong. However, Lin Feng pushed him back. See if you can get him to become my servant, said the young man in white clothes. He wanted Lin Feng to become his servant. He is obstinate and unruly. I don't like him, whispered the girl, shaking her head before adding, kill him. Lin Feng had humiliated her. All right, I'll kill him, said the young man in white clothes while smiling as if he could decide Lin Feng's fate in one sentence. Chapter 908. Strange Soul. At that moment, the young man in black clothes stretched his hand towards Lin Feng, and a strange strength enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked expressionless as he punched the air in his opponent's direction. He was so strong that he didn't fear many people. Boom, their fists collided. Lin Feng sensed a strength fill up his fist, which was painful. He could have lost his arm, it felt like. He released strength at the same time, and crackling sounds could be heard. Piss off. Lin Feng jumped forward, and the young man in black clothes groaned with pain as he was propelled backwards into a wall inside the bar. Parts of the wall fell down as the man was propelled into it. His arm was hanging loosely and was broken. You're quite strong but not strong enough to defeat me, said the young man in white clothes indifferently. Lin Feng turned around and looked at him. He said indifferently, even though your cultivation level is higher than mine, you're nothing but a know-it. I can crush you in one strike. Both had sharp words. They stared at each other for a while before the young man in white clothes slowly stood up and issued a strong wind. The table in front of him even broke under the pressure. I will teach you a lesson now, said the young man in white clothes while releasing an insane amount of energy. Lin Feng decided to release his fire energy. People quickly avoided the flames and moved away even though they wanted to watch. Level 5 fire intent. How talented, said the young man smiling. From behind him, a terrifying black wind started blowing with strange marks in it. // Everybody who had stayed in the bar felt like they were suffocating. Explosions sounded as the bar was breaking apart. Lin Feng sensed a terrifying energy which almost made him suffocate. Apparently that wind was very powerful. His fire intent was destroyed, worse yet, it was absorbed by the wind. It's a soul. Lin Feng was not prepared for that. What a strange soul it was at that. He had rarely seen others with strong souls. But there was Duan Wu Dao and Duan Wu Ya who had the door seal soul. However, there was a strong correlation between a strong soul and a Zun cultivator's blood. Few people inherited a Zun cultivator's soul. Therefore, it could be assumed that most people only possessed ordinary souls. However, the young man in front of him wasn't ordinary. His soul alone could destroy intent. That was a powerful advantage. Have you never seen such a soul? You're such an ignorant weakling. The continent is vast. You can't imagine how many types of strong souls there are. I told you I can easily kill you. The bar was already destroyed. Lin Feng and his opponent were fighting outside now. No need to talk to a piece of trash, just kill him, said the girl in the background. She despised Lin Feng. All right, said the young man. A strong wind started blowing again. Lin Feng moved back. Even with his physical strength, that wind would still hurt. Lin Feng knew that he could encounter extremely strong cultivators in the continent. They weren't like those cultivators of the second or third Tianqi layer he easily killed before. Master Tianlin shouted a few people at that moment. A group of people had arrived. The young man in white clothes turned around and nodded at them. The leader of the group saw that the young man was fighting and shook his hand in a flash. A group of people surrounded Lin Feng. Master Tianlin, why would you fight such a person? It's an honor for them to fight you, said the leader of the group in a respectful way. The patriarch told me to come and pick you up. Don't be angry, please. No problem, said the young man in white clothes. The whirlwind behind him disappeared and went back into his body. The atmosphere became calm again and everyone finally exhaled. They had almost suffocated a moment before. Master Tianlin, the patriarch, is waiting. They will take care of that person, so there's no need for you to fight anymore. All right. He humiliated the woman I love, so kill him and bring me back that Chongqi, said the young man. No problem, said that person, nodding. Then he said to the others, follow the orders. Poor boy. He doesn't know he offended powerful people and missed an opportunity, said the young man in a despising way. Lin Feng was an insect to him. He turned around and left with his wife. Those people are from the Xiaoyao sect. Were they talking about the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect just now? Many people were whispering. Who is that young man then? Who could it be for the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect to send people to pick him up? How prestigious. Many people were looking at Lin Feng. He was insane to provoke people with such high status. He had almost died a moment before, but now he was surrounded by Tian-level cultivators, so it would probably end the same. He would probably die. Stupid boy, thought the crowd. That young man probably came because of the meeting in Ahsoka? Must be, Ahsoka is not far. He's probably going there. Lin Feng heard what those people were talking about. He didn't expect to meet people from the Xiaoyao sect there. And what meeting were they talking about? At that moment, a strong energy surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at them. Those people weren't weak. There was even one person who had broken through to the fourth Tianqi layer. Lin Feng suddenly rose up in the air, telling Chongqi to do the same. Where do you think you're going? Shouted someone furiously. Lin Feng surprisingly wanted to escape. Impossible. Lin Feng moved very quickly. Humph! Those people groaned and started following Lin Feng using the Xiaoyao agility technique. Where did Lin Feng think he was going? Lin Feng glanced at those people and started using the Xiaoyao agility technique too. Those people were speechless. That was the Xiaoyao agility technique, the agility technique of their sect, the Xiaoyao sect. Lin Feng could use the Xiaoyao agility technique. How? On top of that, Lin Feng seemed to have mastered the technique even better than them. Chase him! Shouted someone furiously. All those people started chasing Lin Feng. They had to find out where he had learnt the Xiaoyao agility technique and then kill him. Chapter 909. Ahsoka City. Lin Feng had learnt the Xiaoyao agility technique from the Three Lives demon. Even though his cultivation level was inferior to theirs, he was faster than them. After a short time, Lin Feng arrived in a desolate place and slowed down. Humph! Where are you going? Shouted someone furiously. Many people were following him now. However, when they got near him, Lin Feng turned around and a demon seal stone appeared. Kill him! Shouted someone furiously. Lin Feng threw his demon seal stone and ran away as fast as he could. The first two people felt oppressed, like they couldn't move any further. The strength of that demon seal stone was incredible. Their faces showed hints of worry as they knew they couldn't avoid it anymore. Boom boom boom. Explosions sounded as Lin Feng's strength, coupled with the power of the demon seal stone, killed those two strong cultivators and immediately reduced them to ashes. Lin Feng glanced at the others and continued moving. He was hiding his true identity so he couldn't use his full strength. Otherwise people might recognize him. Therefore, he was attracting people to different corners to kill them. He's got demon seal stones, be careful! Shouted someone. Then they continued using their Xiaoyao agility technique to chase Lin Feng. This time they stayed in a group to avoid acting careless like the two others from before. Lin Feng took out a red sword which was full of thick blood qi. Lin Feng released a terrifying sword qi, and his entire body turned into a sharp sword. At the same time he released the qi of a million swords. His sword qi dashed to the skies as his enemies hesitate for a second. Lin Feng then stopped in the air. Be careful, shouted someone. They all stopped and looked up at Lin Feng. Lin Feng turned around and was smiling. Are you tired? Don't be nervous. Lin Feng then continued running. Bastard! You really want to die? Shouted someone furiously. Lin Feng was playing with them. But again Lin Feng turned around and released an infinite amount of sword qi. They suddenly all looked desperate. If Lin Feng's sword qi reached them they'd die. Boom boom boom. Die! They all released a terrifying strength. However, Lin Feng turned into a sword using his human sword fusion. Slashing sound spread in the air as two corpses fell from the sky. Arg! The others were going insane. Surprisingly, Lin Feng had already killed 4 of them. Just as they turned around to face Lin Feng again, Lin Feng's sword qi disappeared. A mountain appeared in Lin Feng's hand which shot out at them. Die! Bzzz boom boom boom. Lin Feng used his Tianxian treasure. Many people who were too close were immediately crushed alive. Lin Feng glanced at the enemies, only 2 were left. He recalled his Tianxian meteorite and stood there. He looked like a god despising those strong cultivators. You still want to kill me, but can you? Said Lin Feng. Lin Feng. You're Lin Feng, said someone staring at Lin Feng. Demon seal stone bloodsword, that meteorite which looked like a precious treasure from Tianxian, that person had to be Lin Feng. Lin Feng was already famous in Ganyu. He had demon seal stones, he loved swords, he was a member of Tianxian. All those things weren't a secret anymore. It was easy to guess that he was just wearing a mask. You just found that out? It's too late now. Lin Feng jumped forwards with his gigantic mountain in hand. The 2 enemies ran backwards. Lin Feng threw his meteorite at them. The strength of the earth and sky rolled in the air and chased those people. A terrifying mountain fell down onto one of the enemies' back and crushed them to death as blood splashed everywhere. 1 strike, 1 death. In a flash, Lin Feng recalled the meteorite back to his hand and it disappeared. Lin Feng had killed all of his opponents but 1 now. The last opponent started running like a madman. Lin Feng had killed so many people in the blink of an eye. If he didn't manage to escape, he would definitely die. He used his Xiaoyao agility technique. He was running so fast that the wind buffeted against his body. "And where do you think you're going?" shouted Lin Feng loudly, startling his opponent. He had been chasing Lin Feng the whole time and now he was being chased. What a coward! Die! Lin Feng released a terrifying fire energy from his fist which turned black. Then their fists collided. Boom! As their fists collided, the strong cultivator gave a horrible shriek. Lin Feng crushed his fist and continued on to crash into his chest. Lin Feng had just killed the last one. Lin Feng was still standing in the air. Xiaoyao sect the meeting. Lin Feng continued running. He understood what was happening in Ganyu. When he was in Shuiyu, his teacher had gone and killed people in Shengong. Shengong, Jade Heaven and the EC Dragon Palace had joined hands and went to Tianqi. When that didn't go their way, they called the big sects from the Ganyu region with the sole goal of destroying Tianqi. Lin Feng wasn't surprised that all of Ganyu wanted to destroy Tianqi. Lin Feng didn't stop. After he guessed about the meeting, he headed straight for Ahsoka. Tianqi was good to him. He couldn't let them down now. Ahsoka was in the center of the Ganyu region, so bringing together all those sects was most convenient. The EC Dragon Palace, Jade Heaven, Shengong, the 9 Cloud Sword sect, the Xiaoyao sect and so on were already there. There were so many Zun cultivators there as well as countless numbers of Tian-level cultivators. Many people were leaving as a group of people arrived. Their leader was wearing white clothes and looked both rich and handsome. A beautiful woman stood by him. Master Tian Lin. The members of the Xiaoyao sect greeted him politely and respectfully. Patriarch. Long time no see, said the young man in white clothes, smiling indifferently. Even when faced the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, he still acted proud as if he were the best in the world. Indeed, long time no see. I wouldn't have thought that you'd come to the Ganyu region. It's an honor to see you again, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, smiling. Members of the Xiaoyao sect were surprised. Who was this man that was respected by even the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect? His social status must be very high. Patriarch, you're too polite. I'm not the only one who came to Ganyu. I heard that an emperor's treasure has been found, and that many influential people had come to practice cultivation, said Tian Lin. What Tian Lin meant was that things were not going to happen smoothly. Chapter 9:10. Qiongqi's abnormal behavior. Tian Lin, you're incredible. Even I, the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, feel so small compared to people like you. It's incredible to see such geniuses, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, smiling. He understood that geniuses needed to leave their nests to become stronger. They all left for better places at some point before they became stronger. Geniuses were people who had incredible abilities. They had to fight wars and struggle through hardships to become stronger. Something was happening in Ganyu. A treasure had been found, so it had attracted lots of very strong cultivators. Those geniuses were all coming to Ganyu to fight Lin Feng. This seemed perfectly normal to almost everyone. The war was going to be fierce this time. At that moment, the person who had gone to pick him up avoided looking at him. This intrigued Tian Lin. When is my beast arriving? That person pulled a long face. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect said coldly, Speak. Prince Tian Lin. When I realized that they weren't coming back, I sent someone to check if everything was alright and they found that everyone died. What? Tian Lin frowned. So many strong cultivators lost against a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer? What happened? Asked the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. A bunch of trash. Prince Tian Lin, I'll send people personally to bring you back that Qiongqi. He must be gone already. If I meet him again, I will kill him personally. If I don't see again, he can consider himself lucky. It's unfortunate though. I really wanted that ancient wild beast, said Tian Lin, annoyed. Somewhere else at that same moment, Lin Feng arrived in Ahsoka. It was in the central part of Ganyu where wars never took place and where strong cultivators gathered. Many influential groups often met there. Lin Feng checked a map. He was still getting used to its geography. He also heard a few things about the meeting and recent news in town. He realized that everyone was talking about him. He had unknowingly become famous in Ganyu. Everybody was astonished by what happened in Shuiyu, and by the fact that 3 Zun cultivators were killed. Lin Feng also found that some people knew that he wasn't in Shuiyu anymore, which was actually a relief for him. He wanted Shuiyu to experience some peace. According to some rumors, he was in Tianqi because he was afraid and needed Tianqi's protection. Some other people said that he was probably hiding somewhere to practice cultivation and that he would come out only after becoming stronger. Then he could get his revenge. Very few people thought that he had come to Ahsoka. That would simply be too audacious. So many powerful people were there to plan an attack against Tianqi after all. There was a trading market in Ahsoka, larger than any others he had seen before. Qiongqi roared in order to show Lin Feng that he had to agree. Lin Feng was skeptical, but maybe Qiongqi had discovered something? All right, I'll buy it, said Lin Feng while nodding. He took out 5 intent crystals and gave them to the old man. Qiongqi immediately grabbed it and looked at it, but there was nothing on it. Lin Feng didn't understand and was annoyed. Even though intent crystals weren't that precious, he didn't want to waste them either. Chapter 9:11. The precious picture. After they left the market, Lin Feng asked Qiongqi, "Why did you want that scroll?" "How could you understand?" replied Qiongqi mockingly, which made Lin Feng feel vexed. "Roar!" Qiongqi started roaring and grabbed the scroll from Lin Feng's hands. It then put it on the ground. Its eyes were twinkling. Lin Feng looked at Qiongqi but didn't say anything. Could that scroll really be special? That fire chi is incredible. That's why it drew my attention, said Qiongqi, examining the scroll. It said to Lin Feng, "Use fire to burn it. Even though your fire is extremely weak, it can only help." "Since you criticized me, you can do it yourself," said Lin Feng. Even though he had turned into an animal, Qiongqi hadn't changed. "If I recover someday, I'll be able to spit fire at you and kill you instantly," said Qiongqi proudly. When he realized Lin Feng was ignoring him, its tone of speech changed and he said, "But now I can't do anything because my powers are restrained. You understand that the picture scroll contains incredible secrets. If you don't want to know exactly what, then forget it." "You're so stubborn," said Lin Feng, frowning, but he didn't forget that Qiongqi was Yendi. Lin Feng crouched down and put his hand on the empty picture scroll. He then released fire. His fire was scorching hot and dazzling. He released as much as he could, however, nothing happened. The old man had actually told him that it was difficult to know how to activate that scroll. "No use. You can't be wrong though?" said Lin Feng. He was starting to get more curious. "You're the useless one," said Qiongqi to Lin Feng. Then, he put his claws on Lin Feng's hand and made Lin Feng's hand move as if he was drawing something. Lin Feng clearly sensed something. It was as if he was drawing some mysterious marks, and his fire became even more intense. That empty scroll was suddenly glowing like fire. Lin Feng suddenly moved his hand back. It was scorching hot. So hot, thought Lin Feng. He knew the cosmos burning sun technique. He understood fire intent quite well. He was more talented with fire than most fire cultivators. However, after touching the empty scroll, he actually feared burning himself. Lin Feng and Qiongqi stared at the picture scroll. It started burning, but not entirely, only piece by piece. The marks they had just drawn were filled with fire strength. "What a terrifying fire strength," sighed Lin Feng. "As expected. How could I be wrong?" said Qiongqi proudly and arrogantly. He looked very satisfied. The fire burnt for a long time until only the ravine-like marks were left. "It's a map." Lin Feng had just realized what it was. Ahsoka. Lin Feng looked at that map. He also took out another map and looked for Ahsoka on it. Both maps were very similar, so it meant that that fire map was indeed Ahsoka. Even though they looked similar, they were not entirely the same. The map he had bought before was a standard map of what Ahsoka currently looked like. The fire map was different. It was a map of what Ahsoka looked like a very, very long time ago. If Qiongqi hadn't found that map, Lin Feng would have never been able to find it. The initial owner of that map was probably extremely strong. Otherwise, the fire on it wouldn't be that hot, whispered Lin Feng. "You're ignorant, but keep talking shit," said Qiongqi arrogantly, glancing at Lin Feng in a despising way. He was making fun of Lin Feng again. But Qiongqi saw that Lin Feng was annoyed and said, "That picture scroll was created 300 years ago. It is made out of a kind of leather which itself was made out of a very strong fire beast skin. It was probably a Zune-level beast. Even if a weak abstruse fire energy was used on it, it would be impossible to find out its secret. That's why nobody found its use for such a long time. The one who created the map apparently wanted to find an extremely strong fire cultivator, whose level wouldn't be too far from his. What you mean to say is that the picture scroll contains a precious fire item? Lin Feng understood things quite well. Qiongqi was also extremely strong, so he could guess people and beast cultivation levels. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at the map. As expected, that map was showing a mysterious place. The one who drew the map was telling the reader to go there. Bullshit again. If the one who drew the map didn't want people to find a secret, why would he have drawn the map? All that I hope is that the precious item is a fire-type one, said Qiongqi. Qiongqi was the Flame Emperor. Only fire could help him get back his strength. Fire, whispered Lin Feng. Qiongqi glanced at Lin Feng and said in a despising way, "You understand nothing. You don't know what real fire is. Fire is infinitely powerful. Even though your Cosmo Sun skill is not bad, it is still lacking. Against real fire skills, you'll burn to ashes in the blink of an eye." Lin Feng was surprised. Lin Feng didn't understand as much as Qiongqi, but was he really that weak? What did it mean to be a real fire cultivator? Hurry up and take the map. We're going to that place, said Qiongqi impatiently. He needed real fire. Lin Feng put the map away and said to Qiongqi, "Let's go back." Roar. Qiongqi said to Lin Feng, "What do you mean? Why now?" "We're not done with my business," said Lin Feng indifferently. Roar. Qiongqi showed his teeth to Lin Feng. Lin Feng punched Qiongqi and said, "Even though you're an emperor, I am your master right now. Don't bare your teeth at me." Lin Feng then headed for the city center. Qiongqi was proud and wanted nothing more than to get back his power. Lin Feng was aware of that and wary of it. Roar. Qiongqi was really angry. Lin Feng still didn't clearly understand the purpose of the meeting, but he knew he didn't have time to go treasure hunting with Qiongqi. Chapter 9:12. Asoka Mountain. There was a mountain in Asoka which used to be considered a holy place in ancient times. But later on, it gradually became a normal place where cultivators who were not so strong went. The Asoka Mountain was vast, as big as a small town. This was where the meeting would be held. There were 3 peaks which symbolized a tripartite balance of power. Between those 3 peaks was a huge flatland that was a few hundred kilometers wide. It was perfect for a large meeting. There were 3 more days until the great sect meeting started. After Lin Feng figured all of this out, he went to Asoka Mountain but decided not to talk much. Now and then he'd go to a bar and drink some alcohol. Once in a while, people would look at Qiongqi enviously. In the evening, the lightened streets of Asoka Mountain were calm and peaceful. Many people had taken refuge around and on the 3 peaks to practice cultivation alone. Sometimes there were also groups of people taking a stroll. Lin Feng, Qiongqi and Xuelinglong were there. Qiongqi was unhappily following Lin Feng and would sometimes roar. Xuelinglong was always happy to be on Lin Feng's shoulder. There was a large stage that had been set up. Lin Feng could imagine Jade Heaven as well as the EC Dragon Palace and Shengong's people plotting against Tianqi. Lin Feng asked Qiongqi, "Couldn't we use a deployment technique with the mysterious marks?" "Idiot. There are so many people practicing cultivation here. Even though I can carve marks without making any sound, I need abstruse crystals and the chi from the abstruse crystals would definitely draw people's attention. Do you think all those people are as stupid as you?" Lin Feng seemed thoughtful. Qiongqi was right. If they used abstruse crystals, Zun cultivators would definitely smell it and they would be doomed. But if I use flame energy to carve marks, even Zun cultivators wouldn't be able to smell it. Qiongqi raised his head and sighed. But Lin Feng smiled and said, "You're Yendi. That should be a piece of cake for you, right?" Qiongqi looked even prouder. "I can do that for you, but first you need to come with us to the secret place on the map. We need to see if there is something I could use there." Damn animal, thought Lin Feng, but he said, "All right, but we're in a hurry now, so we need to do that here and then we can go treasure hunting." Qiongqi looked at Lin Feng and said, "All right, but if you try to fool me, you'll die." "Don't worry, I will never try to fool you," Lin Feng said. They went onto the stage and Lin Feng took out some abstruse crystals from his ring and gave them to Qiongqi. He needed Qiongqi to ruin this great sect meeting. Chongqi, said Lin Feng. Some people were coming and one of them was wearing a strange robe. Half of it looked like it was made of fire and the other half of ice. That person looked at Chongqi, but Chongqi lowered his head and continued walking. Lin Feng looked at that young man with curiosity. Another extremely powerful young man. He was young and as strong as the young man in white clothes he had seen last time, the third Tianqi layer. The other young people with him were much younger, but none of them had a level inferior to the Tianqi layer. After they disappeared, Chongqi whispered, "That young man is extremely strong. If you ever encounter him, be very careful of his fire. Even worse, it's mixed with ice." Chongqi was actually praising that young man? He reminded Lin Feng of Lin Qian, who had both an ice and fire soul. Too bad that Lin Qian was so proud. "Alright, can we get going?" asked Lin Feng. Chongqi nodded and slowly lowered his head. There was no qi and nobody could see him or smell his energies. Although Lin Feng trusted him, he was worried that people could discover Chongqi. Time passed slowly as Lin Feng released his godly awareness and scouted the surroundings. At the beginning he could see Chongqi, but after a few minutes he couldn't. Lin Feng was surprised. Could Chongqi hide that well? Lin Feng felt even more relieved. Lin Feng hid in a dark place in order to not draw attention. A long time passed and Lin Feng opened his eyes. Chongqi came to him looking satisfied. "Are you done?" asked Lin Feng. "Bullshit. When I do something I always succeed. When I get back to my normal state, I will show you what it means to be an emperor," said Chongqi, which made Lin Feng smile. "Alright, we're done, so let's go now," said Chongqi. "Alright, let's compare the two maps first," said Lin Feng while taking out the two maps. One could clearly see the paths on the new map, but the other one was very old and blurry, so comparing both maps was the best way to find the target destination. "We need to find a mountain range," said Chongqi. There were a few mountain ranges in Ahsoka. However, Lin Feng couldn't find the one on the map. "Strange," whispered Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't find it and Chongqi found it strange too. "Look here," said Chongqi, pointing at place on the old map. Then he pointed to Ahsoka Mountain on the new map and they looked alike. It seemed like the treasure was in Ahsoka Mountain. However, there were 3 mountains in Ahsoka Mountain, but the area on the old map seemed gigantic. Could it be that the Ahsoka Mountains have changed in the past 300 years? Chapter 9:13. Clash of the Geniuses. If this is Ahsoka Mountain, then which of the 3 mountains are we talking about? Lin Feng was staring at the map. The fire wasn't showing a precise place. On the old map, it almost seemed like the 3 mountains were together, but nowadays which mountain was the right one? Lin Feng looked at both maps again but didn't find anything. The treasure had to be in Ahsoka Mountain. If a war had occurred a few hundred years ago, why had the 3 mountains remained intact? Chongqi said to Lin Feng, "We're going there." "Alright." Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng hadn't thought that the same place where the Great Sect meeting was would be the same location as their treasure. Was it a coincidence or had someone done that on purpose? If it were a coincidence, were they the only ones who knew about the treasure? Or were they the only ones? Could there be other people hunting the treasure? "Let's go." Lin Feng started walking and Chongqi followed him. He was more interested in treasure hunting than in the Great Sect meeting. That map was made by an incredible fire cultivator. If he could get it, maybe he could become much stronger again. After all, he was the Flame Emperor Yan Di. He had chosen Chongqi's body because Chongqi was a fire beast, so it was more beneficial for him. The Ahsoka Mountain was famous in Ahsoka history. There were many legends in Ahsoka about a strong cultivator who practiced cultivation there. Lin Feng and Chongqi's silhouettes flickered. From afar, they thought the 3 mountains weren't that far away, but getting there actually took much more time than they thought. When they arrived at the center of the 3 mountains, Lin Feng saw many people. Why were those people silently practicing cultivation there? Especially in the middle of the 3 mountains. "It's him." Lin Feng saw the young man in white clothes. It was the one with the wind soul and was extremely strong. The beautiful girl was also there with him. There were many Tian-level cultivators as well. Many were wearing the same clothes as those who had attacked him. They were probably members of the Xiaoyao sect. Who is he? Lin Feng wondered. The Xiaoyao sect was powerful in the Ganyu region, but surprisingly, they respected the young man in white clothes and admired him. They almost acted like servants around him. Lin Feng was wondering whether that young man was a high-class disciple of the Xiaoyao sect. But at that moment, apart from the young man wearing white clothes in his group, there were other people who seemed to be confronting them. Especially another young man of the same level, the third Tianqi layer. There was another group as well which consisted of a young woman and a young man who were about the same age. The young man had broken through to the fourth Tianqi layer and the young woman through to the third. She was wearing a red skirt and looked beautiful. So many strong cultivators from Ganyu. Imagine fighting against them. Could you defeat them? Asked Chongqi as if he was gloating over Lin Feng's misfortune. Lin Feng's opponents were usually weaker than him, so Lin Feng easily despised them. But now those people seemed extremely strong and powerful. Right now, they were in the middle of the 3 mountains of Asoka Mountain. Was it a coincidence? Lin Feng knew that Chongqi was right. Those people were extremely strong and extraordinary and so on. As if the young man in white clothes sensed something, he turned around and looked in Lin Feng and Chongqi's direction. He suddenly had a strange facial expression. "You're here," said the young man, surprised. According to what the guy from the Xiaoyao sect had told him, Lin Feng had killed those people last time. Surprisingly, Lin Feng was now inside the Asoka Mountains. He must be here because of the great sect meeting, thought the young man. He glanced at Lin Feng and Chongqi and then turned around again. Indeed, the one he was currently fighting was more important than Lin Feng. The others saw that the young man in white clothes seemed to know Lin Feng, so they glanced at him too. Then they turned around again. That was just a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer. In their eyes, he was just a nobody and didn't deserve their attention. At that moment, Tianlin slowly rose up in the air and released a terrifying qi. The members of the Xiaoyao sect and Tianlin didn't look scared at all. "Since you challenged us, come and fight," said the young man aggressively at Tianlin. His robe was fluttering in the wind and he looked sharp. "Look. Who are you? How dare you challenge Tianlin?" said a member of the Xiaoyao sect. Tianlin was an aristocrat. Even their patriarch respected him. "Let's fight first," said that young man who had also broken through to the third Tianqi layer. Then Tianlin threw himself at the aggressive young man. However, the aggressive young man didn't even glance at Lin Feng and prevented him from moving. His blood was boiling like a raging ocean. A dazzling golden light appeared and a golden pattern appeared behind that young man. It slowly rolled in the air. Slash, the golden wheel suddenly started moving. In a flash, the members of the Xiaoyao sect were surrounded by that light and they fell down from the sky dead. "What a powerful soul," sighed Lin Feng. It was similar to Tianlin's soul in that it could easily kill people using their soul. "You've never seen an emperor's descendant. Their souls are terrifying," whispered Chongqi. "The stronger the ancestors, the stronger the offspring's souls. Zun cultivators can transmit their blood and the peculiarities it contains." Lin Feng nodded. The world of cultivation was unfair where talent was just a matter of transmission. Some people had everything from their birth while others had to rely on themselves. Lin Feng didn't know how long ago his ancestor, the Zun cultivator, had lived on his mother's side, but they still inherited his soul from generation to generation. However, their strength was still proportional to other Shuiyu's souls. In many places, there were people whose parents were Zun-level emperors and they were much stronger than someone whose ancestor was a Zun cultivator from hundreds of years before. As Chongqi had said, emperors' children were extremely strong. Chapter 9:14. Confrontation. Chongqi looked at Lin Feng and saw that his eyes were twinkling. He was seizing each opportunity to bully Lin Feng. Of course, the conditions at birth were important, but the cultivation conditions were also important. Those people's souls were strong and powerful, and they had powerful skills and powers. Even though Lin Feng's soul wasn't as strong as theirs, he had learnt extremely powerful skills and techniques, and in a real fight, he would definitely be able to surprise them. Of course, for Yan Di, who had been an emperor, those people weren't geniuses. Many people dreamt of being close to emperors and he had seen many sorts of such geniuses. For him, he was now Lin Feng's pet. He had to become stronger and someday he'd become an emperor again. For that, he needed Lin Feng's help though. If they only rely on their soul and don't know any other tricks, then they're not geniuses to me, said Lin Feng almost as if he had guessed what Chongqi was thinking. He smiled at Chongqi and added, for example, if we were of the same cultivation level and if I could easily kill them, wouldn't I be a genius then? Chongqi sighed because Lin Feng was less and less irritable. The aggressive young man's golden lights were more and more dazzling. When the members saw their fellow disciples die, they became furious. You really want to die? How dare you kill the members of our sect? Shouted someone furiously. Their silhouettes flickered and they released a terrifying chi. A bunch of trash. You're as bright as fireflies and yet, you think you can compete with the sun? Said the aggressive young man. Slash slash slash. The golden lights were extremely sharp and nothing could stop them. More people were suddenly cut by those lights. There were some more slashing sounds as more corpses kept falling down from the sky. When people tried to attack, they automatically failed. They couldn't stop those golden lights and instantly died. People behind pulled a long face and they looked dispirited. They wanted to leave but it was already too late. How could the aggressive young man let them off? In the blink of an eye, he killed all the members of the Xiaoyao sect, leaving no one alive. However, from the beginning to the end, the aggressive young man didn't move. His soul was doing all the work. Tianlin, was it fun to send people to die for you? Come on and fight me now, said the aggressive young man. I'm not interested in fighting against someone who is so obviously insane. Many people came here so there's no need for me to fight you. If you really want to fight, why don't you fight against her or the one with the fire and ice soul? Said Tianlin, pointing at a young man and a young woman who were siblings. Their family name was Hua and they were extremely strong and powerful. They'll have to wait their turn. First you and then them, said the aggressive young man. Nonsense. When the time is right, I'll fight you, said Tianlin. He then moved towards Lin Feng. Coward, said the aggressive young man mockingly when he saw that Tianlin was leaving. His soul disappeared and the golden light vanished, leaving only the moonlight. The aggressive young man then left as well. Tianlin slowly walked towards Lin Feng and Chongqi. He still looked proud and arrogant. I'm surprised you survived last time, said Tianlin indifferently yet still sounding conceited. Since you're so self-centered, you'll often be surprised in life, said Lin Feng smiling. Tianlin seemed surprised. You're lucky that you survived before, but now you will die. The young woman seemed even more furious. Lin Feng had humiliated her, and she wanted her revenge. You don't fight those of the same level as you, so you go and bully those who are weaker. Prince Tianlin is really majestic, said the young man who hadn't talked the whole time. Brother, you understand that it's not that I was afraid to fight, it's rather that I didn't feel like it, said Tianlin indifferently. He didn't sound angry. That's what you say, but now you're bullying an ordinary cultivator of the first Tianqi layer. Do you think that your actions support your claim? Said the Huashe girl. The fact that a girl said that provoked Tianlin even more. Two people are against me, all right. If he can withstand a single attack, I won't kill him, said Tianlin, releasing his spirit. His terrifying hurricane spirit appeared again. Lin Feng could sense it and it felt like his body was going to break under the pressure. Tianlin did as he wished because he didn't respect people. Lin Feng was nothing in his eyes. If the siblings hadn't said anything, Lin Feng would be dead already, but since they had said he was too weak, he agreed to attack him only once. Do you think it's fair to use your soul to attack a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer? Said the young woman coldly. Tianlin was 2 layers higher than Lin Feng and had a powerful spirit. Lin Feng was an ordinary cultivator. He would probably die. How is that fair? I don't give a damn about what's fair or not. If he can withstand a single attack, that's good. If he can't, he should die, said Tianlin. To him, there was no such thing as fairness. The cultivation world wasn't fair. You won't kill me if I can withstand your attack? Said Lin Feng, smiling before adding in an indifferent way. I want to see how you will kill me then. Come and attack. You're a brave boy, said Tianlin. His spirit appeared from his back. A hurricane moved towards Lin Feng, who could sense the power of his soul. It was quite powerful. Die! Shouted Tianlin furiously. His soul moved towards Lin Feng at full speed and shook the entire space. He only released a tiny part of his soul, but it sufficed to kill a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer. Even a cultivator of the second Tianqi layer without any particular power would die against this attack. Lin Feng looked at that wind, motionless. He punched the atmosphere in the direction of the hurricane. There were pale lights in his attack, and his punch contained demon-sealing strength. Slash slash. Suddenly, subtle sounds spread in the air. Then buzzing sounds spread in the air, and the hurricane immediately stopped and disappeared. Tianlin was incredulous. What a terrifying sealing power. It seemed like he had underestimated Lin Feng. The siblings were just as surprised. Wait, said Lin Feng. He raised his head and looked at Tianlin in a despising way. Tianlin was surprised and smiled coldly. All right, let's try again then. Chapter 9:15. How can you be so proud? You're not respecting your promise, said the young woman. Tianlin said he would attack only once, but now he continued the battle. Lin Feng was certainly going to die. Tianlin groaned coldly. His soul appeared again and started rotating like a tornado. The thought of him putting his entire soul into an attack was scary. Lin Feng was still standing there as he raised his fist, which started glowing. He pushed the demon-sealing strength into his fist. Seal! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. He stretched out his hand and a terrifying strength assaulted the tornado. Die! Boom! Tianlin shouted furiously. His wind moved through the air with a fury capable of destroying anything. Such powerful attacks could easily kill ordinary cultivators of the third Tianqi layer. How could Lin Feng resist? At that moment, Lin Feng shouted, "Break!" A fist shadow came out from his hand and fought the wind. Whistling sounds invaded the air as Lin Feng's shadow fist collided with the wind. "Disappear!" shouted Lin Feng using his demon-sealing strength, and then the wind broke apart. Tianlin's facial expression looked even colder. From his back, the wind was blowing stronger and stronger. He was struggling to kill a trivial cultivator of the first Tianqi layer and was losing face. "That's enough," said the brother Hua Shi. He released some qi and attacked Tianlin, who was propelled backwards. Lin Feng sensed the energy and jumped back before it could reach him. The young man wanted to put distance between Lin Feng and Tianlin. "What the hell are you doing?" said Tianlin, glancing at the young man furiously. His wind was still floating in the air. "If I remember right, you promised you won't let him off if he withstood one of your attacks, and he did. Now you're releasing more and more of your soul to attack him. Even a cultivator of the third Tianqi layer would die against such an attack. You're shameless to attack somehow so much weaker. Don't you think?" Brother Hua Shi said indifferently. Tianlin pulled a long face. He changed his mind and said he wanted to continue. "I wanted to show him how strong I am." "You're not that strong though," said Lin Feng from behind. Tianlin was aghast and looked back at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng wasn't afraid. He smiled and said, "You should be able to kill people of the first and second Tianqi layer quite easily. Now, you have broken through to the third Tian layer and you released 3 layers of your soul, and yet you're still unable to kill me. What a disgrace." Tianlin was enraged but couldn't contradict Lin Feng. With the strength of the third Tianqi layer, he was unable to kill Lin Feng even though his cultivation level was lower. He even released 3 layers of his soul and still failed. Your pride is not founded. When you face weak people, you act all high and mighty. A moment ago the guy challenged you and you refused. Instead you came and challenged me because my level is lower than yours. How dazzling. In the end you still managed to lose face. You even violated your promise. You said that if I withstood one of your attacks, you'd let me off. You're such a coward," said Lin Feng mockingly. Tianlin was becoming more and more furious. "You don't need to look at me that way. You never understood me. You didn't even know how strong I was. You just said you could kill me in one strike because you wanted to show the others how strong you are. In fact, you're not much different from most cultivators. When you fight against weaker people, you win. Can you guarantee that if you use your full power, that is, your whole soul, you can kill me?" said Lin Feng. Everyone was astonished, including the siblings Hua Shi. Lin Feng seemed quite self-confident. Could he really resist Tianlin's whole soul? Don't try and find an excuse saying that you don't fight against weaker cultivators or something like that. Come and prove that you're strong now. Strong cultivators have defeated their own ego by your level. Really strong cultivators only fight cultivators who are stronger than them. Something you must not be used to. Lin Feng said despisingly. Since that's what you want, I'll show you my strength and kill you, said Tian Lin. Lin Feng had humiliated him. He was furious. If you want to be sure, just use your full power, said Lin Feng while running at him. Tian Lin heard the brother Hua Shi say mockingly, "It seems like Prince Tian Lin can only fight weak cultivators to prove that he's strong. Let's see how this goes." "You're distracting me on purpose," said Tian Lin coldly. He then glanced at Lin Feng and said, "All right, I told him that if he withstood a single attack, I wouldn't kill him. So I won't kill him this time. However, if I see him again, I will not be so merciful." "Forgive me? You're funny," said Lin Feng, shaking his head. Lin Feng really wanted to kill him, but the great sect meeting was approaching, and that young man's social status seemed quite high. He couldn't use his full strength without drawing attention. He would have to wait to teach him a lesson. As they weren't battling anymore, Lin Feng and Chongqi left. They soon arrived in a flatland where there was nothing. There was also no sign that it was the place indicated on the old map. Even if that place was different from everything they had seen in the region so far, there should have been marks or something, but there was nothing. "What do you think?" asked Lin Feng. Chongqi looked around. "Give me the map," said Chongqi seriously. Lin Feng passed him the map and Chongqi examined it carefully. "Look, there are other people here. Do you think there's only one copy of that map?" said Chongqi. On a beast, that facial expression looked quite strange. "If they came here, they might have a map too," replied Lin Feng. Chongqi nodded and looked pensive. "Let's go," said Chongqi, turning around. Lin Feng asked him, "Did you find something out?" Chongqi looked at Lin Feng, remained silent for a few seconds and said, "Am I not an emperor? A little insect seems to think he can teach me something. Of course I understood everything. All we have to do now is go and pick up the treasure." Chapter 9:16. The teacher arrived. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Why are the two maps different then, and where is the precious treasure?" "How could you understand anyway? You're just a basic cultivator of the Tianqi layer. Telling you is a waste of breath." It was difficult to get information from Chongqi. He despised Lin Feng, but he didn't know that Lin Feng secretly despised him too. Chongqi made fun of Lin Feng because he was a Tian-level cultivator, but he was forgetting that he was a Xian-level beast. "Someone cast a huge space spell here," said Chongqi. He seemed very serious at that moment. "A huge space spell?" Lin Feng immediately thought of Shengong, the mysterious world in Tianya Hage, the world of the picture scroll. Weren't those places huge space spells? What is a huge space spell? Chongqi looked at Lin Feng in a despising way and said, "It's a spell used to create a new world out of nothing." A spell used to create a new world out of nothing. Lin Feng was perplexed. Shengong or the mysterious world could really be huge space spells. "You're so weak you can't understand what it means. Huge space spells are used to create small worlds, of which there are many small worlds in our world. So many that if there is a small world just next to you, if the creator doesn't want you to know, you will never know unless you're stronger. After reaching a certain cultivation level, you'll be able to sense small worlds," continued Chongqi. "What you mean is that the treasure is in a small parallel world, but I can't see it?" asked Lin Feng. Chongqi nodded. He seemed pensive. "Can you open those small worlds?" asked Lin Feng. That was the most crucial aspect. "It's difficult. My current level is too low, so I need more strength," said Chongqi. He seemed annoyed. He knew where the world was and knew there would be incredible treasures in there, but he couldn't get them. How frustrating. As a former emperor, it was a tragedy to end up in such a state. But if he managed to get into that world and find incredible treasures, he might be able to get back to his normal state. He couldn't miss that opportunity. "Little boy, I need your help with something else," said Chongqi, still talking seriously. Lin Feng looked at Chongqi and asked, "What do you need?" "I can't open that world. I need to borrow some strength from other strong cultivators. It could be dangerous, and the treasure hunting quest could be dangerous and difficult as well. I hope you can help me only one time." Chongqi didn't seem like he was joking, and he didn't look arrogant anymore. He looked extremely serious. He almost looked human. "All right," said Lin Feng, nodding. Chongqi was pleasantly surprised. He hadn't thought Lin Feng would accept so quickly. Are you sure? Asked Chongqi. What? Lin Feng shouted furiously. I've told you that we're partners now, we're a team. You help me, I help you. Roar. Chongqi roared. Lin Feng had his moments, it seemed. If you find incredible treasures, don't forget about me though, said Lin Feng. Chongqi just looked at him in a despising and ferocious way. He didn't look as nice as a few seconds before. Where are you going? Shouted Lin Feng. I need to prepare something. If the little world can't be opened, how will we get in? Said Chongqi as it walked into a dark area. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry either. In the darkness, Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and started practicing cultivation. The more he practiced cultivation, the more he understood that he wasn't strong enough. Lin Feng was confident in his abilities. His level was inferior to those geniuses' levels, but he hadn't practiced cultivation for such a long time, and he wasn't born in perfect conditions to practice cultivation. It wasn't a problem though. He just had to persevere. After all, those geniuses didn't have such a strong skill set as his. At that moment, from the darkness, someone approached Lin Feng. That person looked like an ordinary old man. He wasn't releasing any qi. Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes and released a terrifying amount of qi. He was ready to attack. Little Lin Feng, it's me, said a voice Lin Feng knew all too well. In a flash, his qi disappeared. Lin Feng looked at the old man and frowned. He couldn't believe it. That's good, you recognized me, said the old man with a gentle smile. Teacher. Lin Feng was speechless. His voice sounded febrile. What's wrong? You can hide your face, but I can't? Said the old man, giggling. It was Mr. Bai, the Snow Zune cultivator. His teacher was doing the exact same thing as him. He had changed his face so people couldn't recognize him anymore. You couldn't recognize me, so I must be good at transforming. People who don't know me that well won't be able to recognize me even, said the old man, smiling. He seemed satisfied. Teacher, how come you're here? Asked Lin Feng. Besides, how did you find me? Lin Feng was worried. In Asoka Mountain, there were many strong cultivators, and the purpose of the Great Sect meeting was to plot against Tianqi. It was quite dangerous to be there. On top of that, the one who had taught Lin Feng how to change his face was Mr. Xiao Ye's grandfather. How could his teacher find him? Some people want to destroy Tianqi, our empire. I can't let my people face that danger alone. Besides, you're here, so am I. Is that so surprising? Whispered the Zune cultivator. Concerning the fact that I found you, don't forget that I am one of the owners of the Tianxian stone which you have with you now. With it I can find you anywhere. I see. Lin Feng hadn't though his teacher could find him because of the Tianxian stone. Teacher, everything that's happening to Tianqi is my fault, said Lin Feng. He felt guilty. What do you mean? It's not every day that you have such a great disciple. It's an honor for Tianxian. Tianqi needs you to rise up, said the old man, shaking his head. Don't worry too much about Tianqi, you need to practice cultivation serenely. Don't let other things influence you. Concerning that stupid Great Sect meeting, do they really think they can bully Tianqi that easily? Tomorrow morning, some people are going to pay the price for their actions, said the old man with sharp cold lights in his eyes. Some people wanted to destroy Tianqi and one of its disciples. Tianqi obviously wouldn't let that happen. They never let their fellows down. All right, said Lin Feng with a magnificent smile on his sick-looking face. Chapter 9:17. Beat around the mountain to scare the tiger. Chongqi came back after a long time. The old man was surprised to see that Lin Feng had an ancient beast with him. He stared at Chongqi as if trying to read through him. Chongqi sensed that the old man was trying to inspect him, so he roared loudly and lowered his head. He didn't want to stare at the old man. That old man is extremely strong, especially his godly awareness, thought Chongqi. He used to be an emperor and still thought that the old man was extraordinary. He wasn't a high-level Zune cultivator, but his awareness was incredible. His blood too. The old man had a very strong blood strength. The old man had the feeling that there was something strange about Chongqi, but he couldn't tell what. He gave up and used telepathy to talk to Lin Feng. Little Lin Feng, there's something strange about that beast. I know. Don't worry, teacher, I know it quite well. He didn't want to hide anything from his teacher, but Qi's story was very sad, so there was no need to tell everyone about it. If strong cultivators heard the story, it could get dangerous for the both of them. He was an emperor that was more precious than any item in the world. People knew about him, they would go insane. Since you know about it already, there's no need to talk about it. I'm off, said the old man. He then disappeared in the darkness of the night. My teacher is going into the tiger's den, thought Lin Feng, looking at his teaching disappearing in the darkness. He hoped nothing would happen to him and that nobody would recognize him. Have you heard about what happened to Shen Gong? Someone said in a bar. Of course, who hasn't? Tianqi is a very powerful group and they are rising up, it seems. Sending strong cultivators to destroy Shen Gong is an act of bravery. I think it's one of the hottest pieces of gossip in Ganyu. Indeed. Shen Gong was also one of the most powerful groups in Ganyu, but in one night they collapsed. Apart from Yeqing and the strong cultivators he brought here, the others were all killed by Tianqi as of today. It almost doesn't exist anymore. Getting back to what they used to be will be extremely difficult in the future. Tianqi's people are brutal. Someone from Tianqi went to Shandong and killed so many of their strong cultivators. Then he left without any resistance. He also said that next time, he would come back with more Zun cultivators, and that's what he did. He went to Shandong and destroyed them completely in one night. Everybody was talking about the same things. Shandong had been destroyed by Tianqi. What incredible news! Shut the hell up, shouted someone furiously from inside the bar. The walls of the bar were trembling from his voice. People turned around and looked at the one who had just talked. They wanted to make fun of that person, but that person's chi was so scary that the crowd remained silent. That person was probably from Shandong, otherwise he wouldn't have been that furious. Lin Feng was also in that bar. He heard all the stories about Shandong and so on. Finally, Lin Feng understood what price Mr. Bai was talking about. Tianqi had started their assault. After news of this spread, many strong cultivators from the East Sea Dragon Palace and Jade Heaven hurried back to their country. They were worried that Tianqi would do the same to them, destroy their group while they were away. Many influential groups weren't as confident anymore. They seemed to forget that Tianqi's Zun cultivators were alive and could walk. If they wanted, they could leave Tianqi and take advantage of this meeting. The crowd understood Tianqi's message. By annihilating Shen Gong, they were telling everyone that participating at the Great Sect meeting would make them enemies. Because Shen Gong was involved in the meeting, many people were starting to leave. They didn't want to end up like them, however. At that moment, an extremely loud voice spread in the air. The Great Sect meeting is starting earlier. Everybody go to the meeting point in Ahsoka Mountain right now. Early. People raised their heads. Shen Gong had been destroyed. The other influential groups were scared and wanted to start the meeting earlier. New problems cropped up unexpectedly because they were wasting time. Nobody could say that they could defeat Tianqi on their own, therefore they needed this meeting. The voice resonated everywhere in Ahsoka Mountain, and everybody heard it. Although everybody was surprised, they understood that Tianqi forced some hands to be played. Everybody walked towards the meeting point. They didn't know how many groups would participate in destroying Tianqi. Lin Feng was in the crowd as well. He remained absolutely silent. My friend, said someone who tapped on Lin Feng's shoulder. Lin Feng turned around and saw a young man and a young woman smiling at him, the Huasher siblings. What's your name again, my friend? Asked the young man. He was talking in a simple way, but he looked extremely rich. My family name is Lin, said Lin Feng, smiling. Lin? The young man frowned and smiled. Lately, a certain person whose family name is Lin and first name is Feng is at the center of all conversations. Brother Lin, do you know that Lin Feng? I've heard of him, but I've never seen him. I've never seen him either. There are many rumors about him. I wish I could see him someday. Maybe you will see him today, said Lin Feng jokingly. It's a pleasure to meet you. What trick did you use last night to release sealing strength and oppress Tian Lin's soul? Whispered the young man. How could Lin Feng, who had only broken through to the first Tianqi layer, dominate Tian Lin, who had broken through to the third Tianqi layer? That was absolutely rare. Haha, that was nothing powerful. You managed to push us both, Tian Lin and I, away. That was scary. replied Lin Feng. What are you talking about? Said the young man, shaking his head. Brother Lin, if we have great opportunities because of this great sect meeting, I hope that you'll obtain some great treasures as well. After that, both of them remained silent. The young man seemed like he knew what was going to happen during the great sect meeting. Chapter 9:18 Lose face. Brother Hua, you Prince Tianlin and another young man are not from Ganyu, right? Asked Lin Feng. The young man smiled and said, Indeed. I come from very, very far away. The place where you come from must have much stronger cultivators and geniuses than Ganyu, said Lin Feng. This made the young man smile indifferently. I'm not a genius. There are many people who are much stronger than me where I come from. If you ever have the opportunity, you can go and see. If you tell me where you're from, I'll definitely go and visit, replied Lin Feng. I'm from the Holy City, have you ever heard of it? Said the young man, smiling. Lin Feng was astonished. The Holy City was at the center of the continent of the 9 clouds. Some of the strongest cultivators in the world were there. Of course I've heard of it. You come from there? Kind of, replied the young man, smiling indifferently. Lin Feng didn't ask much, even though he was curious. His interlocutor didn't seem to want to tell him much. What did he mean by kind of though? Both arrived at the meeting point in the middle of the 3 peaks and were met by many people. There were all sorts of people. Some people were unruly. Others had just come to see what the meeting was about and to enjoy magnificent landscapes. Would the great sect meeting really work? Brother Jade Heaven, the East Sea Dragon Palace and Shengong organized the meeting together, but now Shengong has been destroyed. Who do you think will act as the leader? Prince Duanmu from Jade Heaven or King Dragon from the East Sea Dragon Palace? Asked Lin Feng. The young man had a very high status. He might know about these things. Perhaps none of them, said the young man indifferently. This stimulated Lin Feng's curiosity. Who then? You'll know soon enough, brother, said the young man, smiling in a resplendent way as if he knew what was going on behind the scenes. More and more people were gathering. There were many sects and groups, about 1,000. There were 1,000,000 cultivators in total. If they had all been flying in the sky, the sunlight wouldn't have found a gap. At that moment, a dazzling light appeared in the sky. People were surprised. 3 silhouettes appeared. King Dragon from the East Sea Dragon Palace, Duanmu from Jade Heaven and Mieching from Shangong. Many people looked at them with admiration. Those 3 were leaders of powerful groups in Ganyu. It was an incredible scene to see those 3 extremely strong cultivators walking together. Of course, there were many extremely strong cultivators in the crowd who didn't look at them with as much admiration. The leader of the 9 Cloud Sword sect, the leader of the Xiaoyao sect and the leader of the Necropolis sect were also there. There were many strong cultivators in Asoka Mountain at that moment. We are delighted to see so many people here for the great sect meeting, said the 3 leaders at the same time. Even though they were satisfied to see so many people, they didn't really show it. We don't need to tell you much. You have already heard the news since you're here, said King Dragon before adding. Tianqi's people are ruthless and shameless. They destroyed Shengong while Mieching and some of his strongest cultivators weren't there. All the strongest cultivators of Tianqi took advantage of the situation and utterly destroyed Shengong. Tianqi is in a killing frenzy and they kill without principles. They're trying to take over Ganyu by eliminating all their competitors. Their disciples also killed a great deal of people. Many people disappeared in the mysterious world except for Tianqi's people. We don't know what kind of trick they resorted to achieve that. With such people around, we won't be able to protect Ganyu for long. The crowd remained silent. They all understood that if Tianqi took over Ganyu, then the situation would become dangerous for them too. Of course, another problem was that Lin Feng had a precious treasure which he had received from the mysterious world. Ridiculous, someone said, breaking the silence. Everybody heard that person. Surprisingly, someone dared challenge the King Dragon. He was humiliating the 3 leaders and all of their backing. Many people looked around but couldn't see the person who said that. It was as if the voice had come from every side. The 3 leaders in the air were terribly angry. They glanced around but couldn't see anything either. Surprisingly, nobody could find who that person was. If you're not a coward, come out. No need to hide like a weakling. shouted King Dragon furiously. If you're not even able to find me, then go searching for excuses, said the voice again. King Dragon looked angrier and angrier. He lowered his head and looked at the crowd. The people who he looked at were terrified and would lower their heads. Couldn't be them. You called people to help you destroy Tianqi. Should they sit and wait for death? The fact that Tianqi destroyed Shandong proves that Shandong consists of a bunch of crappy cultivators, said the voice. It was rolling through the sky, coming from every direction. If you have balls, come out to talk, said Mieching, again trying to antagonize him. Come out and get killed by all the people who will accept to help you? If you're such a crappy cultivator that you can't even find me, don't try and find excuses, said the voice. The crowd remained silent. Someone dared disturb the great sect meeting. Was that person from Tianqi? Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling. He couldn't be sure that the person was his teacher, but he admired them. However, if it was his teacher, it seemed like he had underestimated his strength. His teacher went to Shandong alone and killed many people uncontested. He had even killed 2 Zun cultivators. In the past, he was just his teacher, but now he understood that Mr. Bai wasn't an ordinary old man. The 3 leaders in the sky pulled a long face. The great sect meeting had just started and someone was already disturbing them. They didn't know what to do or where to look. They felt humiliated. That person has an extremely strong soul and understands the strength of the earth and sky to a high degree, explained the brother Hua Shi. He wouldn't have thought that he'd see such powers in Ganyu. Not bad. The 3 leaders in the sky weren't weak, but they weren't strong enough. The 3 leaders glanced around. King Dragon said again, if you have any balls, there's no need to hide. However, there was no voice. The one who had interrupted before had seemingly left. The 3 leaders looked extremely angry. That person had just played with them as mere toys. Chapter 919. Imperial Cultivation Disciple. The atmosphere remained silent for a long time. The one who had talked wouldn't come out. King Dragon continued talking. Tianqi is sly, they are wild beasts. In the mysterious world, everybody disappeared but their members. We don't know what happened to the rest, maybe they're dead, or maybe they are prisoners. They resort to incredibly evil methods to take over Ganyu. If we don't destroy Tianqi, we're all doomed. We need to destroy Tianqi. If we all survive, things can go back to normal. If many of us die, we'll avenge them, said Duanmu. If we don't destroy Tianqi, how could all the other sects keep rising, said Mieching. Tianqi had destroyed Shandong. That was already a tragedy for them. The 3 leaders were using strong and biased words to convince the crowd. They wanted to recruit everyone to their side using fear. Today we need to find a leader who will bring everybody together against Tianqi, said King Dragon. The crowd was surprised. Indeed, a leader was essential. He would lead 1,000 sections. The 3 leaders had organized the great sect meeting, but in the crowd, there were even stronger cultivators. If one of the 3 leaders led the war, they might fail. Of course, the leader can only be someone who is here, and they must want to destroy Tianqi from the bottom of their heart. I know that there are many incredibly strong people in the crowd. Those who don't care can simply leave. Only those who are actually motivated to destroy Tianqi can stay here, said King Dragon. Wow, whispered Lin Feng. Those who had come out of curiosity or for their reputation were treated like good-for-nothings. Choosing a leader for such a big undertaking is a normal thing, said the Hua Shi brother, smiling indifferently. King Dragon continued talking. I will give you a minute. If you're not really motivated, you can piss off and leave this mountain. Those who don't leave will stay here and go to the war against Tianqi. They will also be able to vote for the leader. If anyone stays and violates our agreement, we'll kill them. Indeed. If you're not motivated or if you're a traitor, piss off, said Mieching. 1 minute. People started talking. If they stayed, they had to go to war against Tianqi. If they left, they would lose face. Besides, they wouldn't know who the leader would be. They would also miss the war. Many people were hesitating. Very few people immediately left because they were too weak. Going to war would be the same as suicide to them. Lin Feng glanced at the crowd. Not many people left, which made him feel uncomfortable. It meant people were tacitly agreeing to go to war against Tianqi 1 minute past. The three leaders looked at the very few people who left and smiled indifferently. Tianqi was going to be destroyed. Since you decided to stay here, it means you will fight against Tianqi. No wonder that he was so extraordinary. Apart from Tianlin, there are other geniuses, who are all experienced cultivators. Of course, they all have the same social status too. They are all Imperial Cultivation disciples. Imperial Cultivation disciples? The crowd was astonished. Imperial Cultivation disciples? Emperor's direct descendants. Incredible. Those people were all Emperor's disciples? Did it mean that they had the opportunity to see real emperors? Lin Feng's eyes twinkled as he looked over at Qiongqi. Qiongqi was looking at those people in a despising way and said, "Trivial and insignificant Imperial Cultivation disciples. They don't even have the opportunity to see emperors. What is so good about that? I also had a myriad of disciples in the past, but I only knew a few." Yan Di was still referring to his glorious past, but what did it mean to be an Imperial Cultivation disciple? Chapter 920. Fighting power. Do those people really have an emperor as a teacher? Asked Lin Feng. It's just a name. Those who really receive the emperor's teachings are rare. It's just a name for glory. Many people become Imperial Cultivation disciples, but it's just a way of show off. But they do receive several privileges. Besides, the stronger a cultivation emperor is, the more people will want to become their disciple. Whispered Qiongqi. He used to be an emperor. For him it meant nothing. For Lin Feng it was different. For Lin Feng, those Imperial Cultivation disciples were really lucky. For an emperor, of course, they were just low-level cultivators. Those who were particularly skilled and talented could sometimes receive a few private teachings from the emperor, and those who were really strong could sometimes become direct disciples of the emperor. Then it can't be only one sect, can it? Whispered Lin Feng. Imperial Cultivation disciples were a bit like those high-ranking officials in the antiquity who could have their own disciples and schools. Emperors attracted lots of cultivators and many geniuses. Those sects and schools could become extremely powerful influential groups. Qiongqi glanced at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was somewhat smart. Imperial Cultivation disciples represented a large group of influence with many different schools of thought. If an emperor had a problem, all the subsequent sects would help him. When the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect saw people's expressions, he laughed and said, "If some people doubt my words, average Tian-level cultivators can come and see the truth for themselves. Of course, it's just to give it a try. The Imperial Cultivation disciples won't hurt you." Average Tian-level cultivators. The crowd was in a daze. Those Imperial Cultivation disciples had, apart from one person who had broken through to the 4th Tianqi layer, all of them had broken through to the 3rd and 2nd Tianqi layers, but the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect was inviting average Tian-level cultivators, which meant of the 5th Tianqi layer. It seemed like cultivators of the same level had no chance against them. Many people were hesitating. The Imperial Cultivation disciples seemed extremely strong. At the same time, they wanted to see how strong they were. They were wondering what the difference between people who came from the holy city and them was. "I'll give it a try," said someone proudly while jumping up in the air. That cultivator had broken through to the 3rd Tianqi layer. Did that mean that they thought that they were as strong as the Imperial Cultivation disciples? "Prince Tianli, I have also broken through to the 3rd Tianqi layer. Feel free to offer me your advice." Prince Tianlin was a member of the godly Xiaoyao sect and an Imperial Cultivation disciple. Being able to fight against him was an honor. "All right, let's fight," said Prince Tianlin. He looked both proud and calm. An ordinary cultivator of the 3rd Tianqi layer wanted to fight against him, but they stood no chance. All right, the cultivator started dancing about. He understood wind intent, level 4 wind intent in fact. That's why he was so self-confident. How fast? Not bad. How will Prince Tianlin react? The challenger wasn't bad, thought the crowd. Bzzz. A whirlwind appeared behind Prince Tianlin which contained an oppressive strength. Boom! An explosion sounded and a silhouette flew away. Their clothes were torn apart and the wind was following him. "You're way too weak," said Prince Tianlin mockingly. His wind disappeared and his opponent's wind disappeared. What kind of soul is that? Many people were surprised. They understood that there was never a weak soul, only a weak cultivator. Prince Tianlin glanced at the crowd proudly. He was an imperial cultivation disciple and proud of it. He despised all the cultivators of the Tianqi layer in the crowd and even some Zun cultivators. Prince Tianlin was fearless and self-confident. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect was satisfied and smiled. He looked at the crowd and said, "Does anyone else want to try? The best would be for the challenger to have broken at least through the 5th Tianqi layer. Some other geniuses haven't fought yet." The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect really wanted average Tian level challengers. Low Tian level cultivators had no chance. "Alright, I'll try," said someone else. His fire chi was terrifying. That person had broken through to the 5th Tianqi layer. 5th Tianqi layer? He should be able to compete against an imperial cultivation disciple, thought the crowd. The young man stepped onto the stage and looked at someone who had long black hair. His robe was particular, half was made of fire, the other half of ice. His fire was scorching, his ice was ice cold. "You're also a fire cultivator, so you fight," said the cultivator of the 5th Tianqi layer. The one in the black robe agreed, "Let's fight, alright." That person jumped forwards and explosion sounded. His fire was scorching hot. The young man was suddenly surrounded by fire. He released both fire and ice energies. His energy surprisingly became smaller and almost disappeared. Fire and ice fusion strength, you can't imagine how powerful that combination is, said the young man indifferently. His energy slowly moved towards the challenger. The energy fused together with the fire from the cultivator of the 5th Tianqi layer, as if it didn't affect him. Fire alone isn't the scariest part. Fire is only terrifying when combined with ice, said the young man. Ice reached the challenger's body. The challenger sensed the fire and then ice. It was difficult to react to it. His skin started to crack. The fire was burning his skin. It felt like 1,000 needles. The challenger gave a horrible shriek and jumped backwards. Stop! Many people didn't understand what had happened. Only the young man knew that dual intent was terrifying. The young man looked calm. His fire and ice intent disappeared as if they were never there from the start. An ordinary cultivator of the 5th Tianqi layer was a piece of trash in his eyes. His victory was absolutely normal. The imperial cultivation disciples were terrifying. Cultivators of the same level couldn't compete with them. Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling. Why did those people use special powers to defeat the challengers? Maybe they wanted to prove to everyone that they should be chosen to be the leader of the war. Chapter 921. Looking for trouble, no wonder they're imperial cultivation disciples. They don't need to use their full power to win, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. The crowd enjoyed watching the battles. What level did a cultivator need to be to defeat them? Cultivators of the 5th Tianqi layer couldn't defeat them. What about cultivators of the 6th Tianqi layer? You won't have this opportunity every day. Does anyone else want to challenge an imperial cultivation disciple? The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect was smiling, but at that moment everybody remained silent. It was pointless to fight them, they were way too strong. Even cultivators of the 5th Tianqi layer couldn't defeat them. Besides, the geniuses weren't even using their full strength. It made challengers feel dispirited to fight such people. So nobody else, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect smiling. He looked at everyone and said, "We organized the great sect meeting to plan the war against Tianqi. We need leaders for that. Ganyu is really big and it would be difficult to convince everyone, especially since there are so many influential groups in the region. I won't pretend to be a leader either. Those cultivators are real geniuses, they are imperial cultivation disciples. Besides, they have a very high social status, so people trust them. As the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, I decide that those imperial cultivation disciples are the leaders. Does everybody agree?" What? The crowd was surprised. The crowd thought that the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect had given them the opportunity to challenge the imperial cultivation disciples to show their strength and become leaders. They hadn't thought that those imperial cultivation disciples would end up the leaders. I agree, said King Dragon. I also think that it's the best thing to do. It is even an honor for us, Ganyu's people, to have these cultivators with such a high social status become the leaders of our war against Tianqi, said Duanmu. I agree too, said Mieching indifferently. The three leaders agreed. Even though I admit they are talented, the imperial cultivation disciples don't have a very high cultivation level. Aren't they too weak? Many people whispered in the crowd. Many were skeptical. They have a high social status and they are talented. We could just listen to their orders, isn't that even better? Said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect when he saw people's faces. So, in fact, he wanted to keep them in control. How sly, groaned Lin Feng coldly. The three leaders didn't need to say they were the leaders, they just had to put a few talented young people in the front and control them from behind. The imperial cultivation disciples wouldn't decide anything important. But in any case, behind the scenes, there was something going on between the imperial cultivation disciples and the three leaders. Indeed, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng turned around and saw a smiling old man. Teacher. Little Lin Feng, shouldn't we cause some trouble together? Said the old man, narrowing his eyes and looking at the stage. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled and he replied, using telepathy, Teacher, was it you a moment ago? The old man smiled and nodded. He was the one who had talked and humiliated those people. Those people wanted to join hands and destroy Tianqi as if Tianqi were evil. All right, teacher. Let's have some fun, said Lin Feng. He looked at the stage and said, Patriarch, why do I have the feeling that this is all staged? Everybody was stupefied and looked at him. When they saw that the one talking was a sick-looking young man with a yellow face, they looked at him in a despising way. Was he tired of living? It was surprising they accused them of such things. It was dangerous to offend the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. Explain, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, looking cold. Patriarch, if you want to be the leader, organize the great sect meeting and tell everyone that you're the leader. Why do you need those imperial disciples? They're talented, but that's all, said Lin Feng indifferently. People were astonished. Talented, but that's all? Do you not believe that they're extremely strong and that they're geniuses? Asked the patriarch. They have a high social status, but they are imperial cultivation disciples, so what do they have to do with the Ganyu's internal affairs? Everybody clearly understands that those people are a bit more talented than average cultivators and that they participated in a few battles. Is that enough to convince everyone that they should become leaders? Said Lin Feng before adding, for example, if I challenge a few people and say I'm an imperial cultivation disciples, can I become a leader too? The patriarch stared at Lin Feng. He hadn't thought that someone would cause him trouble. How audacious. Come onto the stage, said the patriarch. All right. Today is the great sect meeting. I think that you can convince everybody that you are right, said Lin Feng while slowly getting onto the stage. Tian Lin was staring at Lin Feng in a cold way as he said, You again? Indeed, said Lin Feng, smiling at Tian Lin. He then looked at the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect and said indifferently, Patriarch, they only fought won once and were chosen to be leaders because they possess so much social sway. If I fight against a few people and win, will that prove that I am also extremely talented, and will I be able to act as a leader? Show us first if you're even strong enough to be standing on this stage, said the patriarch while smiling coldly. You have only broken through to the first Tianqi layer. Fight against a cultivator of the third Tianqi layer, and if you lose and die, it'll prove you're a piece of trash. The patriarch looked at the crowd. In a flash, someone stepped onto the stage and stared at Lin Feng. Lin Feng understood what the patriarch meant, and that person had broken through to the third Tianqi layer. Since you dare proclaim yourself a genius, I will make things difficult for you. If you lose, I'll kill you for causing trouble at the great sect meeting, said the one who challenged Lin Feng. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect wouldn't kill Lin Feng, but Lin Feng was saying he was a genius, so if the challenger killed him, the challenger would be considered a great warrior. Boom! That person used the Xiaoyao agility technique and it became difficult to track his movements. Lin Feng looked at that person and released his godly awareness. Everything around him suddenly seemed very clear and precise. He could see every single movement the challenger made. Die! Lin Feng didn't release any qi at all. In fact, he remained motionless. When the challenger saw that Lin Feng wasn't moving, he closed the gap. He was moving so fast that it created a strong gusts of wind. Boom! He tried to punch Lin Feng, but Lin Feng grabbed him when he got close enough. The challenger couldn't move any further. Lin Feng was gripping his hand and it seemed like he was going to crush it. Lin Feng had the strength of the Haruka and the body of a Buddha. Trying to compete with Lin Feng using physical strength was way too dangerous. Boom boom boom. Then, Lin Feng punched the challenger's throat and released some sword energy. It felt like 1,000,000 swords were penetrating his throat and suddenly, he flew away. Initially, it was supposed to be a way of exchanging views on cultivation, but since you threatened to kill me, I can't remain polite, said Lin Feng indifferently. In the distance a thump was heard. It was the challenger's body which had finally fallen down from the sky dead. Lin Feng, a cultivator of the first Tianqi layer, had killed a cultivator of the third Tianqi layer in one punch. Lin Feng had just proved he was strong. Lin Feng turned around and looked at the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. Patriarch, I did the same as them. Since they are leaders, can I be a leader too? Chapter 922. A godly awareness solid as a rock. They are imperial cultivation disciples. They have a very high social status and everybody already wants them as leaders. What is your social status? You can fight, so what? You can't compete with imperial cultivation disciples, shouted the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect furiously. Did Lin Feng want to die? You're the only one who keeps talking about their social status without regarding that this is Gan Yu's internal affairs. This is none of their business. You want to be the real leader and control things from behind the scenes. There's no need to stage everything anymore, said Lin Feng. Shut the hell up, shouted the patriarch furiously while releasing his godly awareness and attacked Lin Feng's awareness. Lin Feng's godly awareness shook violently as he took a step back. Insolent, shouted a voice furiously. An extremely powerful godly awareness spread in the air and aimed at the patriarch. The atmosphere was trembling under this assault. Even the color of the earth and sky changed. What? The crowd was astonished. Surprisingly, someone actually attacked the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. Who was attacking though? There was no need to look for him this time. Suddenly, an old man rose up in the air and he looked majestic. His entire body was surrounded by incredibly powerful energies. He was precisely the one who had attacked the patriarch. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect pulled a long face. He had sensed the old man's godly awareness and it was terrifying. How come he didn't know him? He knew most of the strongest cultivators in Ganyu. Die! Shouted the patriarch furiously. In front of the crowd, how could he flinch? His godly awareness turned into many hands which attacked the old man. Mountain-like godly awareness, shouted the old man furiously. Bright lights illuminated the whole area. A golden mountain appeared. It was lofty and seemed like it could crush the entire world. Boom! Boom boom boom. The mountain-like godly awareness was incredible as it crushed all the hands. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect was shaking under this pressure. The golden lights fused and turned into an ancient mountain. The crowd was speechless as they looked at the godly awareness turn into an ancient mountain. What a terrifying godly awareness! It was gigantic. Duanmu, Mieching and King Dragon were astonished too. What a terrifying godly awareness! They had never seen that old man and they had never even heard of such a strong cultivator in Ganyu. Did the old man come from another region? How strong, thought Lin Feng. He never thought that his teacher could be so strong. Even the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect was scared. Chongqi's eyes were twinkling. He was in the sky with Lin Feng as well. The old man's cultivation level was lower than the patriarch's, but his godly awareness was so much stronger. The patriarch pulled a long face. He looked at the golden mountain and shouted furiously, "Die!" Many shadows appeared and turned into a gigantic hand. Boom boom boom. His godly awareness was extremely fast. The ancient mountain and the gigantic hand quickly collided. The ancient mountain slightly shook but nothing more. The gigantic hand, however, was shaking violently and the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect wasn't any better off. "Die!" shouted the old man furiously. He moved his golden mountain again. The gigantic hand continued to be pushed backwards. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect kept running backwards too. His face was deathly pale. He recalled his godly awareness. His robe was fluttering in the wind. It seemed like he wanted to fight against the old man's mountain-like godly awareness with his strength. Humph, the old man groaned coldly. His voice was so loud that people's heartbeats accelerated. The golden mountain-like godly awareness turned into a bright dazzling light, which was composed of an infinite amount of godly awareness. Then the old man recalled it. Patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, what kind of social status is that? You dare bully my disciple, do you think you can do that? Said the old man upset. His disciple? Everybody looked at Lin Feng. So he was his disciple, it was no wonder that he attacked. But the old man was really strong. Surprisingly, he even managed to scare the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect with his godly awareness. Lin Feng had accepted a challenge so he could become a leader. The old man was just as aggressive. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect pulled a long face. He had bullied his disciple, so he had indirectly humiliated that young man's teacher. Then the old man had attacked him and he had flinched. It seems like you decided to cause trouble here, right? Said the patriarch, glaring at the old man. Don't blame me. You're a clown who chose a few young people based on the fact that they're imperial cultivation disciples. My disciple is not any less talented than them, but you decided to bully him. Do you think all the people who came to the great sect meeting are idiots? Do you think you can play with them as you wish? Said the old man. You are not the only person who can decide who will be a leader or not. Everybody should have a voice. You could have explained your vision directly. Do you think you can treat people as mere tools? The atmosphere turned silent. The old man was audacious, but many people secretly agreed with what he said. How could the three leaders give all the orders and force people to obey? Other people should have the right to express themselves. Lin Feng expressed himself and he got bullied. That wasn't fair. So what do you think would be fair? Asked the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. If you want to choose leaders according to their talent, then compare people's talent. If you want to choose them according to strength, then compare everyone's strength. Make all the strong cultivators fight. Besides, you don't need that many leaders, one should be enough. The old man said indifferently. Then he looked at the crowd and said, you all agree, right? Indeed. To choose a leader, the strong cultivators should all fight. Indeed, the strongest one should become the leader. Fight, fight. After a few seconds, many people decided to speak up. All of a sudden, the whole crowd was shouting. The old man had said exactly what they were thinking. You want to fight against me? The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect looked at the old man and said in a cold way, those who want to become a leader, come out. If you don't, you'll have to accept the final leader. The old man smiled. Those three people wanted to control the entire meeting and so many strong cultivators. How could it be that easy? He wanted to see if the leaders would agree to fight as well. They were all leaders, so if they fought, they had to show how strong they were. If they lost, they'd lose face. If they didn't fight, they'd lose face. King Dragon, Duanmu and the others looked at the old man. They didn't know where he came from, but surprisingly, he wanted to ruin their plan. Since you organized the great sect meeting, you should explain yourselves, especially those of you who came from very far away. We're not idiots. Nobody is stupid here. You organized the meeting, but if you don't tell the truth, then it's useless. Lin Feng's voice was gentle, but he was smiling coldly inside. How would they deal with that situation? Tianlin pulled a long face. Lin Feng had punched him twice and propelled him backwards violently both times. Tianlin was a cultivator of the third Tianqi layer, Lin Feng of the first, so that was a big difference. You called me a piece of trash, but you're an imperial cultivation disciple, don't you feel ashamed? Continued Lin Feng. He really wanted to humiliate Tianlin. Of course, Lin Feng was lucky because Tianlin was slow. However, it doesn't mean that Lin Feng wasn't strong. The imperial cultivation disciples you chose really aren't strong, said the old man indifferently yet jokingly. My disciple would be a much better leader, said the old man smiling. The old man and his disciple seemed really close. Patriarch, let's play with them, said Tianlin to the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. All right, said the patriarch, nodding. He stared at the old man challengingly. Could those two people compete with them? If my teacher and I win, will we be the leaders? Asked Lin Feng mockingly. He loathed Tianlin and the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. You will die today, said Tianlin aggressively. His wind spirit made whistling sounds as he used more and more qi of the earth and sky. Is that so? I want to see how an imperial cultivation disciple will kill me, said Lin Feng with a cold smile. He then looked at his teacher and smiled. Teacher, let's fight. All right, said the old man, nodding. Teacher, I'll bring them to a place and you should follow me. Don't use your full strength, just protect yourself, said Lin Feng using telepathy. The old man looked surprised but didn't say anything. He just replied, all right, you should also be careful. That guy's spirit is extremely strong. Besides, he surely has some amazing skills and techniques. I understand, replied Lin Feng. Both were using telepathy so other people couldn't see that they were communicating. They turned around and saw the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect and Tianlin release terrifying energies. We'll see if you still act so proud later, said Tianlin coldly. His spirit was emitting terrifying sounds now that it had surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at that hurricane and narrowed his eyes. He joined both hands to condense energies. Piss off, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He then started punching the wind faster and faster, and it seemed like the wind was starting to disperse. Die, shouted Tianlin. He released even more of his spirit to attack Lin Feng. The hurricane turned into a black tornado made of strength, and it was becoming even more difficult to see. Lin Feng condensed pure qi and rose up in the air. But his pure qi was destroyed immediately. Lin Feng started running quite far away. You think you can escape, said Tianlin. He chased Lin Feng. He was extremely fast as well. He also knew how to use the Xiaoyao agility technique since he was a member of the godly Xiaoyao sect. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect glanced around. The strength of a small world was emerging. Everybody together, said the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. Everybody nodded. They looked calm and solemn. Using only one person's strength, it was impossible to unlock the secrets of that small world. All right, together, said King Dragon at that moment. He released an extremely powerful strength as well. At the same time, strength was seeping out of the marks. Boom! The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect stomped on the ground. Boom! Gotcha! Strong cultivators were all attacking the ground together. The marks were becoming more and more distinct. Apart from those who were in the sky, everybody started feeling extremely hot. What's going on? The crowd started panicking. The strong cultivators didn't stop through, they did the opposite, they released even more strength. They looked solemn. Someone was asking them to help open the door to a small world. That was a chance they couldn't miss. Boom, boom, boom. People were starting to feel hotter and hotter. The ground had started collapsing. Boom, 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 boom. A scorching hot chi made them sweat. Steam was propelled upwards from the ground. Huge space spell, a small world. Lin Feng looked at the scene. The ground was cracking in the middle of the three mountains and a small world appeared. It was like Shengong. However, Shengong used an illusion to create a door to the small world. Here, the small world had been sealed. If Chongqi hadn't found the place, nobody would have. Even the strong cultivators who were there were not able to find the small world. Boom! Terrifying flames appeared. The crowd stepped away from the newly formed hole. The mountain range was shaking as a sea of flames appeared. It was a mountain range made of scorching hot flames. That's the landscape of the picture scroll. A mountain range made of flames, thought Lin Feng. The map showed that exact place. Flames, flames, thought Lin Feng. What a strange mountain range. A gigantic cave appeared as well, and it was filled with flames as well. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.